What if everything we know about history is just a fragment of a much larger, unsettling truth? Imagine ancient structures that defy logic, artifacts that hold secrets lost in time, and unsolved enigmas that continue to haunt the human race. From the ruins of forgotten civilizations to cryptic messages left behind, these mysteries challenge everything we think we understand. Could these oddities be evidence of a hidden past? Or perhaps they're a warning of something yet to come? High in the Peruvian Andes, nestled among towering peaks and the whisper of ancient winds, lies a site that has puzzled explorers, archaeologists, and mystics for centuries: the Aramu Muru, or the Gateway of the Gods. This enigmatic stone structure, carved into the face of a cliff, presents a stark contrast to the surrounding natural landscape. A rectangular doorway framed by jagged rock leads nowhere, at least not in the conventional sense. The portal, roughly 9 feet tall and 5 feet wide, is smooth and precise, as though it were shaped by a craftsman with tools far beyond the technology known to the ancient civilizations of the region. Local legend tells of its mystical properties. Some believe it is a portal, a doorway to another world, or even a portal to the stars. According to Andean lore, it was once the domain of the gods, a place where spiritual journeys began, and where the souls of the deceased could pass into the afterlife. The site is known by several names, including Puerta de Hayu Marca, which translates to Gateway of the Gods. It is said that this was a place where only the chosen could enter, and the secrets it holds remain tantalizingly out of reach. Archaeologically, the site has long been a subject of curiosity. The precision with which the stone has been carved into the mountain does not seem to belong to the simple tools of the ancient Incas or their predecessors. In fact, the entire site is unlike anything that can be explained by conventional understanding of Inca architecture. There are no inscriptions, no obvious explanations for the purpose of the gateway, no clear connection to known religious or cultural practices. Mainstream scholars have attempted to explain Aramu Muru as a ceremonial site. They suggest that it was perhaps a place of pilgrimage, an entrance to a sacred area, or a ceremonial threshold through which initiates may have passed during spiritual rites. This explanation, however, leaves many questions unanswered. Why the precision? Why the lack of associated artifacts? And why the peculiar location, far from the major Inca centers of Cusco and Machu Picchu? What is particularly intriguing about the site is the deep, persistent oral history of local indigenous groups. Their stories, passed down through generations, claim that the gateway was used by priests and shamans to enter another dimension or to communicate with the gods. The connection to extraterrestrial or interdimensional theories is not new, and it has found its way into modern interpretations of the site. Some proponents of these ideas point to the ancient beliefs in portals and gateways as a metaphor for a deeper truth, perhaps an ancient form of advanced knowledge or contact with beings from beyond our planet. These theories are, of course, speculative. There is no concrete evidence to support them, and many archaeologists reject the idea that the site has any such supernatural connection. However, the very nature of the site, the sheer precision and its disconnection from known Inca religious practices, cannot be easily dismissed. The idea of a mysterious, long-forgotten civilization or a group of people with knowledge that is beyond the historical record persists. Some even propose that the site was a remnant of an older, pre-Inca civilization, lost to time but preserved in legend. In contrast, others suggest that the site was meant as a marker, a symbolic threshold between this world and the next. The Inca, known for their complex religious practices, might have used the gateway as part of a larger cosmic framework that integrated the earth with the heavens, the living with the dead. This would explain the lack of inscriptions or artifacts. Perhaps it was never meant to be understood by the common people, only by the priests or shamans who could interpret its meaning. And then there is the question of the stone itself. The smooth, almost unnatural texture of the stone around the gateway is unlike the surrounding terrain. It seems too perfect, too intentional, to be the work of natural forces. Was this a site constructed with the help of advanced tools, or is there something even stranger at play? What is the true purpose of the Aramu Muru? Was it a gateway to the gods, a spiritual passageway, or simply a ceremonial site with no deeper mystery than we are willing to accept? The silence of the past offers no answers, and so the mystery of Aramu Muru endures. As we look to the future, we can only wonder, what secrets might still lie hidden, waiting to be discovered? Could this ancient site hold answers to questions we have yet to ask? And if the past could speak, what would it reveal about the mysteries of the universe? As we continue our journey through the world's most bizarre and chilling mysteries, we now descend into the heart of the earth, to a place where history, legend, and the unknown converge in an ancient labyrinth of stone, the Hypogeum of Ħal Saflieni, located on the island of Malta. This remarkable structure, hidden beneath the modern-day streets of Paola, remains one of the most mysterious and unexplained wonders of the ancient world. Carved deep into the bedrock over 5,000 years ago, the Hypogeum is a sprawling underground complex of chambers, passageways, and shrines, all hewn from the soft limestone that forms much of Malta's landscape. It is a place that seems to exist out of time. Its origins, purpose, and the culture that built it remain shrouded in mystery. The Hypogeum was discovered in 1902 during the construction of a new cemetery, but its significance became apparent only after further excavation revealed its size and complexity. The site is unlike any other known to archaeologists, a subterranean monument that predates even the grand temples of ancient Egypt. Yet its construction challenges all conventional understanding of prehistoric engineering. No one knows for certain why such an enormous underground temple was created, or who its builders were, but what is certain is that it holds secrets that have long eluded explanation. The name Hypogeum itself is telling, derived from the Greek word hypogeus, meaning underground. The complex consists of multiple levels extending down into the earth over 3 floors, with chambers dedicated to various rites and rituals. Within its walls, archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of artifacts, including pottery, tools, and human remains, as well as animal bones and sacred objects, all suggesting that the site was a place of both ritual and burial. The most striking feature of the Hypogeum, however, is its acoustic properties. When sound is made within the chambers, whether a whisper or a murmur, it reverberates in a way that is impossible to replicate anywhere else. Some researchers have speculated that the ancient people who built the Hypogeum understood the power of sound, using it for ceremonial purposes, or perhaps as a tool for communicating with the divine. Could the strange acoustics have been intentional, designed to enhance the spiritual experience of those who entered? Or was it a natural byproduct of the structure's design, a phenomenon that only became apparent millennia later? Despite the wealth of archaeological evidence, there are still many questions surrounding the purpose of the Hypogeum. One of the most fascinating theories is that it served as a burial site for a highly specialized society, possibly a priestly or ruling class. The remains of thousands of individuals have been found within the Hypogeum, many of them buried in a fetal position, which is thought to symbolize rebirth or the return to the womb. This burial practice suggests a deeply spiritual belief system, one that may have involved ancestor worship or a profound connection to the afterlife. However, it is the mysterious presence of certain artifacts that has led to more speculative theories. Some researchers have pointed to the discovery of so-called mysterious skulls, elongated human remains that resemble those of the ancient Peruvian cultures, suggesting that there may have been cultural or even genetic links between these distant civilizations. The idea of an ancient transoceanic connection has fascinated many, though it remains highly controversial. Could the builders of the Hypogeum have been part of a lost civilization, one that spanned the globe in ways we can only begin to imagine? The most intriguing aspect of the Hypogeum is perhaps its relationship to other ancient sites around the Mediterranean, many of which share similar alignments, architectural features, and symbolic motifs. Some have speculated that the Hypogeum was part of a much larger network of sacred spaces, a system of temples and tombs stretching across the ancient world. The presence of such sites, often aligned with celestial events like solstices and equinoxes, has led some to suggest that these ancient people possessed an advanced understanding of astronomy, perhaps even predating the great civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt. Could these early people have had knowledge of the stars that was far more advanced than we give them credit for? Or is there a deeper, more mysterious explanation for the intricate design of these sacred spaces? The Hypogeum also holds a unique connection to Malta's other famous megalithic sites. The island is home to a number of ancient temples, such as the Gontigia temples, which date back to around 3600 BC, long before the construction of the Hypogeum. These temples, like the Hypogeum, are marvels of engineering and design, and they share many similarities in their alignment and structure. Some researchers have suggested that the island itself was a kind of spiritual center, drawing people from distant lands to partake in ancient rites. Could the Hypogeum have been a focal point for these ceremonies? A place where the spiritual and the physical worlds converged? The site's true purpose remains elusive, and some have even suggested that the Hypogeum was not just a temple or burial site, but a type of portal, a threshold between the world of the living and the dead. This idea aligns with the theories surrounding other ancient underground sites, such as the mysterious caves of Lascaux in France or the catacombs beneath Rome. The Hypogeum's deep connection to the afterlife, its acoustics, and its isolated location all point to a profound significance, one that transcends simple ritual or burial practices. But as with so many ancient mysteries, we are left with more questions than answers. Who were the builders of the Hypogeum? What did they believe? And why did they go to such extraordinary lengths to carve out this subterranean world? Was the Hypogeum merely a religious site, or was it something far more significant, perhaps a place of cosmic connection, or a center for an ancient understanding of the universe that has been lost to time? As we continue to explore the mysteries of our past, the Hypogeum of Ħal Saflieni remains one of the most profound and mysterious sites on Earth. Its secrets, like so many others, continue to wait in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. But until that time comes, the questions remain, hidden beneath the earth, just out of reach. Nestled within the rocky hills of the Golan Heights, a site of ancient mystery awaits, a sprawling, enigmatic monument known as Rujm el-Hiri. Also referred to as the Golan Stonehenge, this megalithic structure, composed of massive stone circles, has intrigued archaeologists and historians for centuries. Its name, which translates to heap of stones, offers little clue as to its purpose, adding to the mystique that surrounds it. The monument consists of a series of concentric stone circles, each larger than the next, all built without mortar and constructed entirely from locally sourced basalt stone. The largest circle, over 150 feet in diameter, is flanked by smaller rings and walls that form a labyrinth-like structure. In total, the site spans approximately 500 square meters. At the center of the formation stands a small, towering stone, rising like a sentinel over the entire structure. It is here, among these colossal stones, that the lines between history and mystery begin to blur. What's remarkable about Rujm el-Hiri is not just its size or the precision with which it was constructed, though the stones are meticulously aligned. It's the sheer uncertainty surrounding its origin and purpose. Though the site is typically dated to the 4th millennium BC, roughly 6,000 years ago, the truth remains elusive. Who were the people who built it, and why? These questions have remained unanswered, with multiple theories, both grounded and speculative, attempting to explain its existence. The most widely accepted explanation is that the structure was used for ritualistic purposes. Given its strategic placement atop a hill, it's plausible that the structure served as an observatory of sorts. Some believe it was a place for tracking the stars or celestial events, aligning with the ancient human fascination with the heavens. The precise alignment of the stones might suggest an advanced understanding of astronomy for a society at the time. Could this be a type of ancient observatory, a place where people sought to connect with the divine through the stars? However, the mystery deepens when you consider the materials used to build Rujm el-Hiri. The basalt stones, though readily available in the region, seem to have been transported with an astonishing level of effort and precision. How did these early builders, without the aid of modern technology or even basic tools, manage to move and shape these heavy stones? And why such an elaborate construction for a society with limited written records? Was it purely for the purpose of ritual, or did it serve some other, more profound function? Another theory suggests that Rujm el-Hiri was built as a tomb or burial site. The stone circles, arranged in a manner reminiscent of burial mounds found across ancient cultures, could point to a necropolis of sorts, where the dead were honored and remembered in ceremonial rites. Several researchers have noted that the center stone, towering above the structure, might represent a marker of a powerful individual or a symbol of a revered ancestor. But no human remains have ever been discovered at the site, which calls into question this theory. Despite these possible explanations, the most peculiar aspect of Rujm el-Hiri lies in its mystery. Unlike other similar megalithic structures found in Europe or the Middle East, no direct historical or archaeological evidence links this site to any specific culture or civilization. There are no inscriptions, no definitive references in ancient texts, and no tangible proof that definitively explains the purpose of this extraordinary site. Interestingly, some researchers point to the idea that Rujm el-Hiri could be connected to an ancient, now forgotten civilization. One theory suggests that the builders of the structure might have been a people who predate the known ancient cultures of Mesopotamia and Egypt, an advanced society whose knowledge of stonework and astronomy was lost to time. Could it be that Rujm el-Hiri was part of a wider, more complex network of structures spread across the region, designed to communicate with those far beyond the Golan Heights? This, however, remains purely speculative, as no other comparable site has yet been discovered. The site's true significance might even lie in its location. Positioned near natural springs and fertile land, the Golan Heights was an area of great importance in ancient times, offering vital resources for any civilization that settled there. Was Rujm el-Hiri a center of power and influence, a testament to a society's dominance over the surrounding landscape? Or was it perhaps a monument built by people who had a deeper spiritual connection to the land itself? Even more puzzling is the fact that Rujm el-Hiri, despite its grandeur, was not constructed in isolation. The surrounding landscape contains numerous other smaller megalithic structures, many of which appear to follow similar patterns of stone construction. Some scholars suggest these structures may have once formed an ancient network, connected through sacred rituals, trade, or cultural practices. But once again, no concrete evidence exists to confirm this theory, leaving the site open to interpretation. As we stand before this vast stone formation, the quiet hum of history echoes in the air. Despite centuries of study, Rujm el-Hiri continues to defy explanation. Each stone, stacked with purpose or perhaps with a secret we have yet to decipher, seems to hold more questions than answers. Was it a temple, a burial site, An observatory, or something else entirely? And if it was a place of worship, who were the people who revered it, and what gods did they call upon? As we look into the shadowed past of Rujm el-Hiri, one thing becomes clear. The mystery is not just in the structure itself, but in the silence that surrounds it. Could there be more hidden beneath the earth, waiting to be unearthed? Perhaps the answers lie not in the stones, but in the echoes of the past, waiting for us to listen more closely. The questions linger, and so too does the mystery. What more can we uncover about this ancient enigma? Only time will tell if the secrets of Rujm el-Hiri are ready to be revealed, or if they will remain locked away, a silent testament to a long-forgotten world. As we leave behind the quiet mystery of Rujm el-Hiri, we turn our attention to another site of ancient intrigue, a place where time has left its mark in the form of massive stones, arranged with purpose but shrouded in enigma. Welcome to the Bada Valley Megaliths, a sprawling, hidden site located in the remote hills of Palestine. Much like other megalithic formations across the globe, these stones rise from the earth like silent witnesses to a forgotten age, their purpose and meaning lost to history. The Bada Valley megaliths consist of hundreds of massive, upright stones scattered across a valley, some of which stand several meters high. These megaliths, made of the region's characteristic limestone, are arranged in groups, with some forming rough circles, while others create long, linear alignments stretching over vast distances. The scale of the site is breathtaking, and the stones appear almost deliberately placed, suggesting a carefully constructed layout. But who placed them here, and why? Dating back to at least the 3rd millennium BC, the Bada Valley megaliths are believed to have been constructed during a period when the region was home to early agricultural communities. These communities, though technologically advanced for their time, left behind few written records, and so the megaliths have become an enduring puzzle. Archaeologists and historians agree that these stone structures likely had a ceremonial or ritualistic function, but the specifics remain elusive. What is particularly striking about the Bada Valley megaliths is their apparent alignment with the natural landscape. Some stones are positioned with remarkable precision, as though they were set to correspond with certain celestial events or geographical features. These alignments suggest that the builders of Bada Valley had an understanding of astronomy or an intricate relationship with the land. Could this have been an early attempt to map the stars, or perhaps a method of marking seasonal changes? It's a theory supported by the fact that some megalithic sites across the world, such as Stonehenge, are thought to have served as astronomical observatories. Yet despite this theory, the purpose of the Bada Valley megaliths remains highly speculative. What sets this site apart from others of its kind is the diversity of explanations proposed for its origin. While some scholars argue that the stones may have been markers for burial sites, as is the case with similar megalithic structures across the world, no graves have been found at Bada Valley. This absence of burials challenges the traditional theory of megaliths as burial markers and suggests that the stones may have had a different purpose altogether. A more compelling theory suggests that the Bada Valley megaliths were part of an ancient ritualistic complex designed for ceremonies that celebrated the changing of seasons, the harvest, or the lunar cycles. The arrangement of the stones, which seems to echo natural patterns, could reflect the profound connection the builders had with the earth and the heavens. Was this a place where communities gathered to honor deities or spirits, or perhaps to perform rites that ensured the fertility of the land? The sheer scale of the site would support such a theory, as it is hard to imagine a community creating such a large, enduring structure without the belief that it had significant spiritual or ceremonial value. However, there are those who argue that the Bada Valley megaliths may have served a much more practical purpose. Some researchers suggest that the stones could have been used as boundary markers or territorial markers, establishing the limits of agricultural lands or tribal territories. In ancient times, the demarcation of land was essential for survival, and such stones might have been used to convey ownership or possession of the fertile valley. But even this theory is far from conclusive, and it's difficult to pinpoint the exact function of these stones with any degree of certainty. Adding to the intrigue of the Bada Valley megaliths is the mysterious absence of other similar structures in the immediate region. Unlike other megalithic sites that form part of a broader network of stone circles, standing stones, and tombs, the Bada Valley appears to be an isolated enigma. There are no known towns or settlements in close proximity, no known written records to explain the site's significance, and no other megalithic sites that might offer insight into its purpose. This isolation has only deepened the mystery surrounding the Bada Valley megaliths. Could it be that these stones were part of a unique, long-lost culture, one that left no other trace of its existence? Were the people who built these megaliths a small, isolated group whose rituals and customs never spread beyond the valley? Or perhaps they were part of a much larger civilization whose monuments and knowledge have been lost to time. Some researchers have even proposed more speculative theories, suggesting that the Bada Valley megaliths were constructed by a society with advanced engineering knowledge, perhaps even an unknown civilization that predates known history. Could the builders of these megaliths have possessed technologies that we have yet to uncover? While these ideas remain largely in the realm of speculation, they invite us to consider the possibility that ancient societies may have had capabilities and knowledge that we are only beginning to understand. Another intriguing element of the site is its potential connection to ancient trade routes. Located near natural resources and fertile land, the valley may have served as a crossroads for early human societies. Could the stones have served as markers for travelers, indicating safe passage through the valley or marking important locations for trade? If so, this would add a new layer of complexity to the site's function, one that blends the spiritual with the practical in a way that is often overlooked in the study of ancient megaliths. As we stand before the towering stones of Bada Valley, the questions continue to multiply. What was their true purpose? Were they part of a grand religious tradition, or were they the practical markers of a more pragmatic society? And if they were created for ritual purposes, what rituals took place among the stones, and who were the people that gathered here? For now, the Bada Valley megaliths remain a quiet testament to an ancient, mysterious past. The stones stand as silent sentinels over the valley, their true purpose hidden in the folds of time. What more will we uncover as we continue our exploration of this fascinating site? Only time and further research will reveal the answers, or perhaps the mystery will persist, leaving us to wonder what might still be buried in the earth, waiting to be discovered. As we leave behind the silent stones of the Bada Valley, we journey eastward to a land of rich history and lingering mystery, a place where time itself seems to have been altered, and where ancient walls stand as enigmatic reminders of a lost civilization. This is Sarmizegetusa Regia, the capital of the ancient Dacian kingdom, nestled deep within the Carpathian Mountains of present-day Romania. Here, the earth itself seems to hold the secrets of a culture that flourished long before the Romans arrived, and long before its eventual demise. Sarmizegetusa Regia, surrounded by dense forests and towering peaks, is an archaeological wonder. The site consists of a series of stone structures, including temples, fortifications, and ritualistic platforms, arranged with an almost deliberate order. The stone walls, weathered by centuries of harsh winters and bitter winds, rise from the earth as if they are holding on to something, secrets perhaps, or knowledge long forgotten. The site is often referred to as the Dacian stronghold, and its layout, with its concentric rings of defense, speaks to a strategic mind at work, someone who understood both the value of natural defense and the symbolism of strength. At the heart of Sarmizegetusa Regia lies a series of circular stone platforms, their purpose still debated by scholars. Some suggest that these were temples built to honor the gods and spirits of the Dacians, while others theorized that they were observatories, aligned with the movements of the stars and the sun. The careful arrangement of the stones suggests that this was a place of significance, a center of power and ritual. Could it have been a place where the Dacians looked to the heavens, seeking guidance from celestial bodies? The alignment of certain structures with the solstices adds weight to this theory, suggesting that the Dacians, like many ancient civilizations, held a profound connection with the cycles of the earth and sky. However, the true purpose of Sarmizegetusa Regia remains elusive. Was it purely a religious center, or did it serve as the political and cultural heart of the Dacian kingdom? The Dacians, a people who were deeply attuned to nature and its rhythms, left no written records behind. Their language, too, remains mysterious, further deepening the enigma surrounding this site. Yet, despite the absence of written accounts, the architecture of Sarmizegetusa Regia speaks volumes. The massive stone walls, intricately carved and strategically placed, tell a story of a people who knew how to wield power, both in warfare and in spiritual matters. The most remarkable aspect of Sarmizegetusa Regia, however, is not just its size or its construction, but the questions that linger in the air. What happened to the Dacians after the Romans invaded in 106 BC? The fall of Sarmizegetusa Regia was a significant moment in history, as it marked the end of an independent Dacian kingdom and the beginning of Roman domination in the region. Yet, what exactly happened during that final siege? Some suggest that the Dacians, though outmatched by Roman military might have used their knowledge of the terrain to mount a fierce resistance. Others propose that the fall of Sarmizegetusa Regia was part of a more complex political strategy, one that involved negotiation, diplomacy, and perhaps even betrayal. In the centuries since its fall, the ruins of Sarmizegetusa Regia have been rediscovered, though much of its true history remains buried beneath the earth. Archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of artifacts, including tools, pottery, and weaponry, which offer glimpses into the everyday life of the Dacians. Yet, despite this wealth of material evidence, there is still much that remains unknown. The intricacies of Dacian society, its religion, its political structure, and its relationship with neighboring civilizations remain obscured. One of the most tantalizing mysteries surrounding Sarmizegetusa Regia is the role of the mysterious Dacian Draco, a dragon-shaped standard that was carried into battle by the Dacian warriors. This emblem, which became synonymous with Dacian identity, was thought to have been both a symbol of power and a protector of the people. Some historians suggest that the Dacians believed the dragon had mystical powers, capable of warding off enemies and ensuring victory. Could it have had a deeper significance, perhaps linked to a lost Dacian belief system or ancient cosmology? What did the Dacians truly believe about the dragon, and how did it shape their view of the world? Moreover, the sheer scale of Sarmizegetusa Regia, its defensive walls, its intricate temples, and its ceremonial platforms, suggests a level of organization and sophistication that is hard to reconcile with the commonly held image of the Dacians as a tribal society. Some researchers have even speculated that the Dacians may have had access to knowledge and technologies that were ahead of their time, raising the possibility of lost techniques or forgotten knowledge that could have influenced not just their society, but others across Europe and beyond. Could the Dacians have possessed secrets that have never been fully understood? Secrets that were lost when their kingdom fell? As the ruins of Sarmizegetusa Regia stand silently against the backdrop of the Carpathian Mountains, they serve as a powerful reminder of the mysteries that remain hidden in the folds of history. Though the Dacians fought bravely against the Romans and left behind a legacy that still captivates archaeologists and historians, much of their world has been lost. The fall of Sarmizegetusa Regia was not just a physical conquest. It was the erasure of an entire culture, its knowledge, and its traditions. And so, as we reflect on this incredible site, we are left with more questions than answers. What did the Dacians truly believe? What knowledge did they possess that was lost with their defeat? The remains of Sarmizegetusa Regia may offer clues, but the full story, one of power, mysticism, and the rise and fall of a great civilization, remains locked away, awaiting discovery. Is it possible that the key to understanding the Dacians and the true purpose of Sarmizegetusa Regia is still out there, buried beneath the earth, waiting for us to uncover it? Only time and the continuing exploration of this ancient site will tell. As we move forward from the ancient Dacian stronghold of Sarmizegetusa Regia, we turn our gaze westward to the sun-soaked island of Sardinia, where another mystery waits, a monument to a lost age and a forgotten people. This is Monte da Codi, a site that stands as a silent sentinel to an era long past, where the stones still echo with the questions of those who built it and left no answers behind. Nestled in the northern part of Sardinia, Monte da Codi is a megalithic structure unlike any other. The site consists of a large, stepped platform, reminiscent of a ziggurat, made entirely of local limestone. Rising from the plains like a strange ancient altar, the structure is divided into terraces that ascend in a pyramidal fashion, with a flat top that measures over 25 meters in length and nearly 15 meters in width. At first glance, the platform appears to be a monumental structure designed for some purpose, though what that purpose was remains a matter of debate. Monte da Codi is thought to date back to at least 2500 BC, with some estimates placing its construction even earlier, possibly in the 3rd millennium BC. It's widely believed to have been part of a larger ceremonial or religious complex, though its exact function remains shrouded in mystery. The flat top of the platform is surrounded by a circular stone structure, and at its base, a ramp leads upward, suggesting that the monument may have been built for ritualistic purposes, such as sacrifices or other sacred rites. But what rituals were performed here? And why was such an elaborate structure created in this remote part of the island? One of the most intriguing aspects of Monte da Codi is its alignment. The platform appears to be oriented with precise consideration of the landscape. Like other megalithic sites around the world, it may have been designed to correspond with the movements of the sun or the stars. Some scholars have suggested that the platform was used for solar or lunar observations, aligning with the changing of the seasons or the rising and setting of certain celestial bodies. Could this have been a place where ancient Sardinians connected with the divine, using the heavens as a guide? The idea that Monte da Codi was a kind of prehistoric observatory is compelling, especially given its location, which offers a clear view of the horizon and the natural features of the island. Yet, there are aspects of Monte da Codi that defy simple explanation. While its structure suggests a ceremonial role, there are no inscriptions or carvings that might offer clues about the rituals conducted here. This lack of written records adds to the mystery surrounding the site. Much like other ancient monuments, such as Stonehenge, the purpose and meaning behind Monte da Codi are hidden in the silence of the stones. What exactly did the people who built this structure believe? And why did they leave no direct evidence of their spiritual or cultural practices? Theories abound, but none can definitively explain the origins or purpose of Monte da Codi. One prevalent hypothesis suggests that it was a sanctuary, perhaps dedicated to a fertility goddess or a deity associated with the earth and the natural world. The ramp, leading up to the platform, could symbolize a journey of ascent, a passage from the earthly realm to a higher spiritual plane. Was the site used for offerings, perhaps to invoke blessings for crops, or to ensure the prosperity of the community? Some even propose that it could have served as a place of pilgrimage, with people coming from across the island to seek divine favor. Adding another layer of intrigue to the site is the possibility that Monte Ducati was connected to a larger network of megalithic sites. There are a number of other ancient structures on Sardinia, including nuraghi, tower-like stone buildings thought to date back to the Bronze Age. And some researchers have suggested that Monte Ducati was part of this broader cultural and religious landscape. Could the platform have been part of a network of sacred places that spanned the island? A kind of ancient religious infrastructure linking disparate communities through shared beliefs and rituals? If this were the case, it raises the possibility that the builders of Monte Ducati were part of a larger, more complex society than previously imagined. Yet, there are those who entertain even more speculative ideas. Some believe that Monte Ducati may have had a role in the ancient practice of astronomy, perhaps serving as a tool for predicting the movements of the stars and planets. The platform's orientation and its alignment with natural landmarks could indicate that it was used for astronomical observations long before the advent of written records. This theory would place the builders of Monte Ducati in an entirely different light, suggesting they may have possessed advanced knowledge of the cosmos, possibly even influencing the development of other ancient astronomical traditions. Further compounding the mystery of Monte Ducati is the absence of human remains at the site. Unlike other megalithic structures, which are often associated with burial sites or mortuary practices, no evidence of burial has been found here. Does this mean that Monte Ducati wasn't used for funerary purposes, or is it possible that any remains were long since lost or undiscovered? Could there have been a connection between the platform and a belief in the afterlife, but in a form that doesn't leave physical traces? Or perhaps were the rituals performed here less about death and more about life, about fertility, the harvest, and the cycles of nature? Despite the lack of answers, the presence of Monte Ducati, its vast, silent platform, remains one of the most enigmatic features of ancient Sardinia. The structure stands as a reminder of a time long past, of a people whose rituals and beliefs were perhaps more complex and sophisticated than we can imagine. As we look at this ancient monument, we are faced with the same questions that have haunted scholars and archaeologists for centuries. What was its purpose? What did the people who built it believe, and what did they seek through their rituals? As the sun sets over Sardinia, casting long shadows over the stone steps of Monte Ducati, we are left with more questions than answers. The stones may tell a story, but it is one that is incomplete, fragments of a larger narrative that remain just out of reach. Perhaps, like so many other ancient mysteries, the true meaning of Monte Ducati is hidden in time, waiting for the right moment to be uncovered. As we continue our journey through the enigmatic remnants of ancient civilizations, we shift our focus to Alatri, a town nestled in the rolling hills of central Italy, where the earth holds another mystery: the Cyclopean walls. These towering fortifications, built thousands of years ago, stand as silent witnesses to a forgotten world, their massive stones laid with such precision that even modern scholars have struggled to fully explain their construction. They are a testament to an ancient people whose knowledge of stonework seems far ahead of their time. The Alatri Cyclopean walls are part of a larger complex that surrounds the ancient town, and their scale is nothing short of awe-inspiring. The walls, made from large, unshaped blocks of limestone, stretch for over a kilometer and encircle the historic center of Alatri. Some of the stones in the walls are so massive that they weigh several tons, and their arrangement appears almost deliberate in its irregularity. The walls themselves rise to impressive heights, some reaching over 10 meters in places, and the stones are fitted together with such a degree of accuracy that even a sheet of paper cannot be slid between them. These remarkable walls have earned their name Cyclopean, because ancient legend suggests that only giants, or cyclopes, could have built them, so massive and perfectly constructed are the stones. Archaeologists date the walls to the 6th century BC, attributing them to the ancient Volsci people who once inhabited the region. The Volsci were known to have been skilled warriors, and the walls were likely built as part of a defensive structure to protect the town from invaders. The fortifications would have provided strategic advantage, giving defenders a clear view of the surrounding countryside and offering a nearly impenetrable barrier to attackers. This practical purpose seems clear enough, yet as we stand before these towering walls, we are left with more questions than answers. How did the Volsci, without the advanced tools we take for granted, construct these walls with such precision and strength? And why do the stones seem to defy explanation in their sheer size and arrangement? Mainstream theories suggest that the Cyclopean walls were the product of advanced engineering skills, yet the methods by which the Volsci achieved such remarkable construction remain elusive. The lack of mortar between the stones is one of the most striking features of the walls. Typically, ancient stone structures relied on some form of binding material to hold the stones in place. However, the Cyclopean walls at Alatri seem to have been constructed using only the weight and shape of the stones themselves to keep them intact. How did the Volsci manage to lift, transport, and position stones weighing several tons, especially without the use of cranes or other modern machinery? Was there a secret technique, now lost to history, that enabled them to move these enormous blocks with ease? Or could it be that they possessed tools or methods that we have yet to discover? Moreover, the layout of the Cyclopean walls is just as puzzling as their construction. The walls curve and meander around the town, following the natural contours of the land, and there are several gates and openings that suggest a highly organized and strategic design. Some researchers have suggested that the walls were not just defensive but also symbolic, marking the boundary between the sacred and the profane, or perhaps serving as a way to channel spiritual or cosmic forces. The alignment of certain sections of the wall with the stars or natural landmarks has led some to speculate that the walls had astronomical or ritual significance, an idea that, though intriguing, remains speculative at best. Was the construction of these walls somehow connected to religious beliefs, as with many ancient monuments across the world, or were they purely practical in nature? One of the most striking features of the Cyclopean walls is the sheer scale of the stones, which seem to suggest a kind of knowledge or craftsmanship that goes beyond the capabilities of the Volsci alone. Some fringe theories propose that the stones were not merely the work of the Volsci, but were either inherited from a much older civilization or constructed with the help of lost technologies. Could it be that the ancient people of Alatri had access to knowledge that we have yet to rediscover? Some suggest that the Cyclopean walls are part of a global network of megalithic structures, built by a civilization that spanned across continents and whose advanced building techniques were passed down through the ages. While this idea remains largely speculative, it raises an intriguing possibility. Could the walls at Alatri be part of a much older tradition of stone construction, one that reaches back to a time long before the Volsci? In addition to their construction, the purpose of the Cyclopean walls remains unclear. While it is widely accepted that they were used for defense, there are other, more mysterious explanations. Some have suggested that the walls were built to protect a sacred site, a place where religious ceremonies or rites were conducted. The precision with which the stones are arranged, along with the fact that the walls seem to follow the contours of the land in a way that may have had symbolic meaning, points to the possibility that the walls served more than just a functional role. Could they have been part of an ancient ritual landscape, designed not only to protect but to imbue the town with spiritual significance? What remains certain, however, is the sense of awe that the Cyclopean walls evoke. Standing before them, one is struck by the enormity and scale of the undertaking and by the mystery that still surrounds their creation. The ancient Volsci may have built these walls as a fortress, but they have become much more than that. They are a symbol of a lost knowledge, of an ancient people who understood the land and the cosmos in ways that remain largely beyond our grasp. As we reflect on the mystery of the Alatri Cyclopean walls, we are left with more questions than answers. What motivated the Volsci to construct such a monumental structure? How did they manage to build it with such precision? And what, if anything, do these walls tell us about the people who once called Alatri home? Like so many other ancient monuments, the answers may never be fully revealed, but the mystery itself continues to intrigue and inspire us, inviting us to look closer, to ask more questions, and to wonder what secrets still lie hidden beneath the surface of these ancient stones. As we step away from the monumental Cyclopean walls of Alatri, we now find ourselves on a small, sun-drenched island in the Mediterranean, a place where ancient mysteries continue to leave their mark on the landscape. Hagar, a prehistoric temple complex on the island of Malta, is home to one of the most enigmatic features of the Mediterranean, the cart ruts. These strange parallel grooves etched into the limestone bedrock of the island have puzzled archaeologists, historians, and explorers for centuries. The purpose, origin, and meaning of the cart ruts remain unsolved, making them a compelling part of the ongoing story of Malta's mysterious past. The cart ruts at Hagar form a complex network of deep, narrow grooves that cut across the landscape, weaving through the rocky terrain in straight and curving lines. The ruts, which can stretch for several kilometers, are remarkably consistent in width, approximately 40 centimeters, and are carved into the solid limestone bedrock of the island. The grooves appear to be man-made, but no one is entirely sure when they were created or by whom. What is even more puzzling is the way these ruts seem to defy logic. While they seem to follow the natural contours of the land, they sometimes cut through solid rock with no apparent reason or pattern. Some ruts even appear to be carved down cliffsides, suggesting that whatever created them had a very specific and intentional purpose. Archaeologists have long debated the origins of the cart ruts. The most accepted theory is that they were created by the wheels of carts or sledges, possibly as tracks for transporting goods between ancient settlements or sacred sites. This seems plausible, considering the location of the cart ruts near Hagar, a site known for its megalithic temples, which would have been of significant importance to the ancient inhabitants of the island. But the sheer scale and precision of the ruts raise a more profound question. Could these grooves have been created simply for practical transportation purposes? Or might there be something more to their design? The date of the cart ruts' creation is another point of contention. Some estimates place them as early as 2000 BC, around the same time the megalithic temples were being built on the island. However, this time frame raises further questions. The people of ancient Malta were relatively small in number and technologically limited. So how could they have created such a vast network of grooves stretching across the island, often through difficult and varied terrain? Was this a monumental task undertaken over many generations? Or was there something more advanced behind the effort? One of the more curious aspects of the cart ruts is the strange intersection of these grooves. In some locations, the ruts cross one another, creating intricate patterns that seem almost deliberate. Some ruts appear to converge at specific points, suggesting that they may have had a more ceremonial function than previously thought. Could these intersections have been part of a ritualistic layout, a means of connecting sacred sites or marking a path to a divine destination? In the absence of written records, it is difficult to say for certain, but it's tempting to wonder if these ruts had a deeper symbolic meaning beyond mere transportation. Another mystery surrounding the cart ruts is their sheer consistency in size and shape. Unlike the irregular wear one would expect from regular use over time, the grooves remain remarkably uniform. This has led some to speculate that the ruts were carved using tools that were more advanced than the simple tools we know were available to the ancient Maltese. Could the Cartruts have been the work of a culture with sophisticated technology, possibly even a lost civilization with access to methods that have since been forgotten? Or was there some kind of external force, perhaps something we can't even imagine today, that helped create these perfect grooves? Some fringe theories even suggest that the Cartruts were not created by human hands at all. A few have speculated that the ruts were formed by an unknown energy or force, such as the passage of ancient vehicles or even extraterrestrial beings. While these theories remain highly speculative, they point to the ongoing mystery of the Cartruts. How can something so seemingly simple, a groove in the ground, hold so much uncertainty and intrigue? Despite the many theories, one undeniable feature of the Cartruts is their sheer scale and scope. They are not merely a few grooves, but an expansive network that stretches across Malta. What does this tell us about the people who created them? Could these ancient engineers have had a more intricate understanding of the landscape, one that is now lost to time? Were they working with a purpose that we still cannot grasp? A purpose tied to the natural features of the island or to celestial events that we no longer understand? The presence of the Cartruts alongside other megalithic sites on Malta, such as the nearby Hagar temples, only deepens the mystery. These temples, built with immense stones weighing several tons, are aligned in ways that suggest a sophisticated knowledge of astronomy. Could the Cartruts also have been designed with some astronomical or cosmological purpose in mind? Perhaps they were intended to serve as markers or pathways for rituals tied to the movement of the sun or the stars. If this was the case, the people of ancient Malta may have had a far more complex spiritual and astronomical framework than we give them credit for. What is most fascinating about the Cartruts, however, is the sense that they are a link to a distant past, a time when the island was a hub of ancient knowledge and mystery. The ruts themselves are like forgotten paths, etched into the landscape by a people whose motivations and intentions we can only guess at. Were they simply a utilitarian creation, or do they speak to a deeper, lost understanding of the natural world? Could they have been part of a grander design, one that connected the land, the people, and the heavens in ways that we can no longer fully comprehend? As we ponder the legacy of the Cartruts, we are reminded of the many mysteries that still remain, buried in the earth and in the ancient stones of Malta. Each groove, each curve in the rock, holds the promise of a story, one that may never be fully told. As we stand before the ruts, it is impossible not to wonder what secrets the land still holds, waiting to be uncovered by those who dare to look deeper into the mysteries of our past. As we move from the ancient Cartruts of Malta, we now turn to a site hidden in the heart of East Africa, where the mysteries of the past are etched in the landscape, waiting to reveal their secrets. The Lothagam North Pillar Site, located in the Great Rift Valley of Kenya, is one such site, a place where the boundary between history and mystery grows ever thinner. The Lothagam site is remarkable for its array of towering stone pillars, which stand like sentinels against the dry, sprawling landscape. These upright stones, many of which reach over 2 meters in height, form a circular or semicircular arrangement. What sets the Lothagam North Pillar site apart from other megalithic structures around the world is its unique position and the unanswered questions surrounding its construction and purpose. Unlike the stone circles of Europe, the pillars of Lothagam have a distinct design, and their origins have long been a subject of intrigue for archaeologists. Dating back to around 3000 BC, the site is thought to have been built by the pastoralist communities who inhabited the region long before the rise of powerful civilizations in Egypt or Mesopotamia. The people of Lothagam are believed to have been skilled stoneworkers, capable of carving and positioning these massive stones in precise arrangements. But who were they? And what was the purpose of this mysterious site? The pillars are made of locally sourced basalt, and the precision with which they are arranged speaks to a level of planning and organization. Each pillar is placed with deliberate spacing, and in some instances, they appear to form alignments with the surrounding landscape, much like other megalithic sites that are often linked to astronomical or ritualistic purposes. The site is located near an ancient riverbed, suggesting that it may have had some connection to the movement of water, perhaps indicating the importance of water or fertility to the people who created it. Was it a ritual site, a place for worship or ancestor veneration? Or did it have a more practical use, perhaps as a marker for trade routes or as part of an ancient settlement? While these questions remain unanswered, what is clear is that the Lothagam site had significance to its creators. The sheer effort involved in erecting these massive stones, many of which were likely transported from significant distances, suggests that this was not a project undertaken lightly. Some researchers propose that the site may have served as a communal gathering place for people across the region, a place for ceremonial rituals tied to the natural world. This is supported by the fact that similar megalithic structures, though more widely scattered, have been found across Africa, suggesting the possibility of a broader tradition of stone building that connected distant cultures across time. The most intriguing aspect of the Lothagam North Pillar site, however, lies in its association with a set of burial sites nearby. In recent years, archaeologists have uncovered the remains of individuals buried near the pillars, leading to the suggestion that the site may have had a funerary function. Were the pillars a memorial to the deceased, marking their passage into the afterlife? Could this have been a site where people performed rituals to honor their ancestors, or to seek their guidance? The positioning of the pillars around these burial sites is certainly suggestive of a deeper spiritual connection, though no clear evidence has been found to definitively link the pillars to specific funerary practices. Adding to the mystery is the apparent age of the site. While many megalithic structures are associated with ancient, established civilizations, the people of Lothagam were not part of any large empire. The pastoralists of the region, while sophisticated in their own right, did not leave behind the monumental architectural or written records that we associate with more famous civilizations. So, how did they manage to create such a complex structure without the aid of modern tools or technologies? Was there some lost knowledge or method of stonework that allowed these people to construct their monumental pillars with such precision? Or was there another, more enigmatic force at play? Speculative theories abound regarding the purpose of the Lothagam site. Some suggest that the pillars may have had an astronomical function, marking the passage of time or the alignment of celestial bodies. The Great Rift Valley is known for its dramatic vistas and unique geography, and some believe the site was designed to track the movements of the sun or stars. The alignment of certain pillars may indicate a deep knowledge of the cosmos, and this knowledge could have been passed down through generations, connecting the people of Lothagam to the larger rhythm of the universe. Other theories lean towards the idea that the site may have been used for more ritualistic purposes, such as sacrifices or ceremonies to invoke the favor of the gods. The people of ancient Africa often held strong spiritual beliefs tied to the earth, water, and the natural cycles, and Lothagam may have been a sacred space where these beliefs were enacted. Was it a place where the people gathered to mark important events, or perhaps to seek blessings for crops, rain, or fertility? The exact nature of these rituals, if they indeed took place, remains a mystery, but the site's deliberate construction suggests a profound connection to the forces of nature. Even more intriguing are the possibilities suggested by fringe theories. Some researchers have speculated that the site may have been used by an ancient civilization that predates recorded history, a civilization that possessed knowledge and technologies that have been lost to time. Was Lothagam part of a broader cultural network across Africa, or even beyond? Could it be that the people who constructed the site were influenced by or even in contact with other advanced cultures across the ancient world? The lack of definitive answers surrounding the Lothagam North Pillar site only deepens its allure. With no written records to provide context and no clear evidence of its purpose, the site stands as a reminder of the vast, untold history that still lies hidden beneath the earth. The mysteries of Lothagam invite us to consider the possibility that there is much more to the ancient world than we have yet uncovered. As we stand before the towering pillars of Lothagam, we are left to wonder, what did the people of this ancient site believe? What purpose did these massive stones serve in their lives? And how did they come to be placed in such a deliberate arrangement? Was the site a ritual hub, a place of communion with the gods, or was it a marker of something much more profound? The mysteries of Lothagam remain unsolved, and as the shadows of history continue to stretch across the landscape, the pillars stand as silent witnesses to a forgotten past, waiting for us to look deeper, to ask more questions, and perhaps to find the answers that have eluded us for so long. As we leave behind the ancient stone pillars of Lothagam, we find ourselves on a windswept island in the Orkney archipelago, just off the northern coast of Scotland, where another mysterious structure waits to be explored: the Ness of Brodgar Wall. Hidden in the heart of this remote, rugged landscape, the Ness of Brodgar is an archaeological site that has captivated researchers and historians with its enigmatic construction and the questions it raises about the prehistoric people who built it. The Ness of Brodgar Wall is part of a larger, sprawling complex of stone structures that date back to around 3000 BC, during the Neolithic period. The site is located between two large bodies of water, the Stennis Loch and the Brodgar Loch, and its positioning seems deliberate, perhaps even symbolic. The walls themselves are a mix of stonework, with some parts of the structure constructed using massive slabs of rock, while others are made from smaller, more refined stones, carefully placed in intricate patterns. The walls rise up from the earth like silent sentinels, guarding the mysteries of this forgotten time. What makes the Ness of Brodgar Wall so intriguing is not just its scale, but the sheer complexity of the site. The structure appears to have been a large ceremonial or religious center, one that served as a gathering place for a society that left behind no written records but whose influence can still be felt today. The walls themselves, spanning over 100 meters in length, are made up of several distinct sections, and their purpose seems to transcend mere architectural function. The precision with which they were built suggests an advanced understanding of engineering. Yet there are no clear explanations for why such a complex and monumental structure would have been created in this remote part of the world, far from any major civilization. Archaeologists believe that the Ness of Brodgar Wall was part of a much larger settlement, possibly serving as a center for ritual or community activities. The presence of ritualistic artifacts, including decorated stone tablets, bone carvings, and tools used for ceremonial purposes, suggests that this was not just a place of daily life, but of profound spiritual significance. The site is part of a larger network of Neolithic monuments on Orkney, including the famous Ring of Brodgar and the Standing Stones of Stennis, which form a kind of sacred landscape that seems to have been carefully constructed with both natural and cosmic alignment in mind. Could the Ness of Brodgar Wall have been a central focal point for the ancient people of Orkney, a site where they connected with the divine or marked the passage of time? The idea that this structure served as a ceremonial center is supported by the many finds of offerings, such as animal bones and fragments of pottery, which point to a ritualistic use of the site. Yet, despite the evidence of religious or ceremonial purpose, there are still many unanswered questions surrounding the Ness of Brodgar Wall. The complexity of the site, coupled with its enormous scale, raises the question: why was such a structure needed? What was it about this remote island that made it so central to the people of prehistoric Orkney? Some researchers have proposed that the Ness of Brodgar was a gathering place for multiple communities, a place where people from across the island came together for important events or to exchange knowledge. Others suggest that it may have been a place of pilgrimage, drawing individuals from far and wide to witness its rituals or take part in its ceremonies. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Ness of Brodgar Wall is the evidence of advanced building techniques. The precision with which the stones were cut and positioned suggests an expertise in stoneworking that is rare for its time. While the construction of megalithic sites like Stonehenge is often attributed to the use of rudimentary tools, the stonework at the Ness of Brodgar is of a far higher quality. The walls appear to have been carefully designed to withstand the harsh weather conditions of the Orkney Islands, where strong winds and rain batter the land throughout the year. Could this be evidence of a people with advanced knowledge of building techniques, perhaps passed down from an unknown tradition? Or is it possible that the people who constructed the Ness of Brodgar had access to forgotten tools or methods, ones that were lost to history? Another layer of mystery is added by the location of the Ness of Brodgar. Situated between two lochs, the site seems to be part of a carefully chosen landscape, one that might have had spiritual or symbolic significance. The positioning of the walls, along with the alignment of the other Neolithic monuments in Orkney, suggests that the site may have been intentionally placed to align with celestial events or seasonal changes. Could it have been an observatory or a place to mark the changing of the seasons, as many other ancient stone sites are believed to have been? Some archaeologists have suggested that the layout of the site reflects an understanding of the cycles of the sun and moon, perhaps indicating a complex belief system tied to the natural world. Despite these theories, the exact purpose of the Ness of Brodgar Wall remains elusive. Was it a place of worship, a community center, or a site for astronomical observation? Or could it have been a place where the forces of nature were harnessed for more practical purposes, such as agriculture or trade? The absence of definitive answers only adds to the mystery of the site, leaving us to wonder what secrets lie hidden beneath the stones. The most compelling aspect of the Ness of Brodgar Wall, however, is not just the unanswered questions surrounding its construction or its purpose, but the sheer scale of the mystery it represents. The site is part of a larger network of Neolithic monuments that suggests a sophisticated and interconnected society, one that has largely vanished from history. The walls, the pillars, and the surrounding structures all speak to a level of planning, organization, and craftsmanship that we are only beginning to understand. Could the people of Orkney have been part of a larger cultural network, one that extended beyond the islands and connected them to distant lands? Or were they a unique society whose advanced knowledge and practices have been lost to time? As we reflect on the Ness of Brodgar Wall, we are left with more questions than answers. What drove the people of prehistoric Orkney to build such a monumental structure in such a remote and unforgiving landscape? What did they hope to achieve with the construction of this intricate, mysterious site? The answers may be buried in the stones, or perhaps the true purpose of the Ness of Brodgar will remain hidden forever, a silent testament to a forgotten age. As the wind sweeps across the Orkney Islands, the stones of the Ness of Brodgar stand as they have for millennia, silent, unmoving, and full of secrets. What stories might they tell if we could listen closely enough? And what other mysteries remain hidden in the landscape, waiting to be discovered? The quest for answers continues, and the mystery of the Ness of Brodgar Wall endures. As we step back from the Neolithic stones of Orkney, we now journey to the sun-drenched island of Crete, a place where the myths of the ancient world intertwine with the tangible remnants of a civilization that flourished millennia ago. Here, amidst the rolling hills and rugged landscapes, lies one of the most mysterious and evocative sites of the Minoan civilization, the Anemospilia Temple. This forgotten temple, perched on the slopes of Mount Joktas, remains one of the most enigmatic archaeological sites on Crete, holding within its stone walls a story of sacrifice, ritual, and perhaps a profound mystery that has yet to be fully understood. The temple itself is not as grand as some of the other Minoan palaces on the island, like Knossos, but it is precisely its simplicity and location that have raised so many questions. Discovered in the 1970s, the Anemospilia Temple is a small but significant structure that dates back to around 1450 BC. What makes this site so intriguing is its layout and the objects found within it, particularly the discovery of human remains, which seem to suggest that this was a place not just for worship, but for something much darker: ritual sacrifice. The temple is situated in a secluded area on the southern slopes of Mount Juctus, a location that may have been chosen for its proximity to the sacred mountain, which was believed by the Minoans to be the dwelling place of their gods. The structure itself consists of a small, simple room with a stone altar at its center, flanked by benches along the walls. While the site is not particularly large, its location in a remote part of Crete speaks to its importance as a place of ritual. What is especially significant, however, are the remains found within the temple, specifically the bones of a young man who appears to have been ritually sacrificed. The bones of this individual were discovered in a crouched position on the floor of the temple, suggesting that he may have been the victim of a sacrificial rite. Archaeologists believe that he was likely a human sacrifice, given the context of his remains and the proximity of the altar. What sets this discovery apart, however, is the peculiar positioning of his body. Unlike other burials from the same period, which tend to follow traditional burial customs, this individual's remains were placed in a manner that aligns with the altar in the center of the room, pointing to the possibility that he was part of a sacrificial ritual, where his death was seen as an offering to the gods. What makes this discovery even more unsettling is the fact that the young man's body was not the only thing found within the temple. There were also a number of other items, such as tools, pottery, and small artifacts that were associated with ritual practice. These objects, however, do not provide any definitive answers as to the specific purpose of the temple. Were these objects used in the ritual, or were they offerings to the gods? The lack of clear evidence regarding the full function of the site leaves open the possibility that Anemospilia was not just a temple, but a place where significant spiritual events occurred, perhaps even a place where the gods themselves were believed to intervene in human affairs. The most compelling theory, however, is that the Anemospilia Temple was connected to a form of Minoan religion that involved sacrifice in order to maintain harmony with the divine. The Minoans, like many ancient civilizations, believed in the power of the gods to shape the fate of humanity. Sacrifices, both animal and human, were a common practice in many cultures as a way of appeasing the gods and ensuring prosperity for the people. But what makes Anemospilia so intriguing is that the human sacrifice found within its walls appears to have been conducted during a time of crisis for the Minoan civilization. Could the Minoans have believed that such sacrifices were necessary to restore balance in a world that was falling apart? Or was this temple built specifically to handle catastrophic events, perhaps related to natural disasters or war, which the Minoans may have been experiencing at the time? The hypothesis of sacrifice, though widely accepted, remains speculative. The Minoans left behind no written records to explain their rituals, so the evidence we have is primarily drawn from the physical remains and the architecture of their sacred sites. Still, the placement of the body in the temple, as well as the altar itself, suggests that this was a site of deep spiritual significance, a place where the divine was thought to be directly engaged with the earthly realm. This raises the question: what did the Minoans truly believe about death, the afterlife, and the gods? Were their rituals a reflection of an ancient cosmology that we are only beginning to understand? Another element that adds to the intrigue of Anemospilia is the alignment of the temple itself. While the layout of the temple is relatively simple, the position of the structure in relation to the surrounding landscape suggests that it was designed to be part of a much larger symbolic system. The Minoans were known for their complex understanding of the natural world, and many of their sacred sites were oriented according to celestial events such as the solstices or the movements of the stars. Was Anemospilia part of this network of astronomical and religious sites? If so, what celestial events would have been marked by the temple's design, and what significance did these events hold for the Minoan people? Adding further complexity to the story of Anemospilia is the fact that the site was abandoned and largely forgotten after the destruction of the Minoan civilization. This destruction, often attributed to a combination of natural disasters, such as earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis, and possibly foreign invasion, marked the end of one of the most advanced cultures of the ancient world. Was the collapse of Minoan society linked to the very rituals that had once been performed at Anemospilia? Could the crisis that led to the destruction of the Minoan civilization have been the catalyst for the increasingly desperate measures, like human sacrifice, in an attempt to stave off disaster? Despite these questions, there are still many who believe that Anemospilia may hold even deeper secrets. Some have speculated that the temple was part of an even more ancient and mysterious tradition, one that predates the Minoan civilization. Could the temple have been built upon older, more sacred grounds, where rituals from an even earlier era were continued or modified? Or were the Minoans themselves influenced by outside traditions, perhaps even older Mediterranean or Near Eastern cultures that practiced human sacrifice in their own religious rites? What remains clear is that the Anemospilia Temple is a site of profound mystery. The evidence of sacrifice, combined with the unusual positioning of the body, the altar, and the surrounding artifacts, suggests that this was a place where the Minoans believed they could directly influence the divine. But what they were trying to achieve through these rituals remains elusive. Were they seeking to control the forces of nature, or were they hoping for a divine intervention in a time of crisis? As we look at the remains of Anemospilia today, its stone walls weathered by time and the elements, one cannot help but wonder what other secrets lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered. The story of this temple, and of the people who once worshipped here, is far from complete. And as we uncover more about their rituals, their beliefs, and their society, the mysteries of Anemospilia will continue to challenge our understanding of the ancient world. What was truly happening here, and what deeper connections to the cosmos or divine intervention did the Minoans believe in? The answers, it seems, are still out there, waiting to be uncovered. As we leave the enigmatic stone altars and sacrifices of the Anemospilia Temple behind, we now venture eastward to the rugged hills of Armenia, a land rich with history, myth, and ancient mysteries. Here, amidst the rolling, verdant landscape, stands a site that has captivated archaeologists and mystics alike. Zorats Karer, sometimes known as the Armenian Stonehenge. Though the site is not as famous as its British counterpart, its mysteries are no less intriguing. Zorats Karer, with its ancient megaliths scattered across a remote hilltop, invites us to question the very origins of the stone circles and their purpose in the larger tapestry of human history. Located near the town of Sisian, Zorats Karer consists of an array of stone slabs and standing stones, arranged in circles and other configurations, many of which are nearly 3 meters tall. Some stones are placed upright in rows, while others are arranged in a more haphazard fashion. These stones are not just the work of any ordinary people. They were clearly placed with purpose, and the alignment of the stones suggests that whoever constructed the site had a deep understanding of the natural world. The site's age is generally dated to around 3000 BC, making it one of the oldest megalithic structures in the world. But like many other ancient stone sites, The exact purpose of Zorats Karer remains unknown, and theories about its function continue to evolve. At first glance, Zorats Karer seems to be a simple stone circle, much like those found in other parts of the world. However, a closer examination reveals something far more complex. The stones are not randomly placed, but align with remarkable precision. Some of the stones show evidence of holes drilled into them, suggesting that they were not merely placed as markers or boundaries, but were intentionally shaped and designed for a specific purpose. One of the most striking features of Zorats Karer is the presence of what appears to be a solar calendar or an astronomical observatory. Certain stones align with the solstices, suggesting that the builders of Zorats Karer had a sophisticated understanding of the movement of the sun across the sky. These alignments are reminiscent of other ancient structures that served as astronomical tools, such as Stonehenge or the Nabta Playa in Egypt. The evidence of astronomical alignment is one of the most compelling aspects of Zorats Karer. Some researchers have proposed that the site was used for tracking celestial events, marking the changing of seasons or the cycles of the moon. The large central stone, with its multiple drilled holes, is particularly intriguing. Some believe that this stone may have been used to mark the passage of time, functioning as a primitive calendar to track the movement of the sun and the stars. Could the builders of Zorats Karer have used these stones to measure time in ways that we are only now beginning to understand? Yet, despite these remarkable findings, many of the details surrounding Zorats Karer remain elusive. The site's purpose is still largely speculative. Some scholars suggest that it was a place of ritual or worship, perhaps serving as a sacred space where the ancient people of Armenia connected with the divine. The alignment of the stones could point to an effort to synchronize human activities with the natural world, or to align themselves with the rhythms of the cosmos. Was this a place where people gathered to honor the sun, the moon, or the stars? Was it a center of astronomical study, or a place where people sought to harness the power of the universe to affect their own lives? One of the most fascinating aspects of Zorats Karer is the presence of sarcophagi near the site. These stone coffins, which appear to date to a later period, suggest that Zorats Karer may have been more than just an astronomical observatory or a place of ritual. Could the site have had a funerary function as well? The connection between death and the heavens is a theme that resonates throughout many ancient cultures, where the sky was seen as the domain of the gods or the afterlife. Perhaps Zorats Karer served as both a place to honor the dead and a site where the living sought guidance from the celestial realm. Adding to the mystery of the site is the fact that the stones at Zorats Karer are not made of the usual types of stone that would be readily available in the region. Many of the stones used in the construction of the site are made of andesite, a volcanic rock that is not commonly found in the surrounding areas. This raises the question: how did the builders of Zorats Karer transport such massive stones over such great distances? Could they have had access to unknown technologies or methods that allowed them to move and shape these large stones with precision? Or is it possible that the builders of Zorats Karer were part of a larger, interconnected civilization that spanned across regions? A civilization that shared knowledge and techniques that have since been lost? Another layer of intrigue is added by the various theories about the purpose of the drilled holes in the stones. Some of these holes align with the positions of the sun during the equinoxes or solstices, while others are thought to have been used for marking specific celestial events. Could these holes have had a ritual significance, or were they purely functional, serving as a way to track the stars or the sun? Some researchers suggest that the holes may have been used as part of a ritualistic practice, perhaps to symbolize the passage of time or the connection between the human and divine realms. If this was the case, what did the people who built Zorats Karer believe about time, the cosmos, and their place within it? Theories about the site's function also extend into more speculative realms. Some suggest that Zorats Karer may have been part of a larger sacred landscape, a network of sites that were designed to align with celestial events, marking key moments in the agricultural or ritual calendar. Others have proposed that Zorats Karer could have been used for more practical purposes, such as ascertaining the changing seasons for agricultural purposes or guiding travelers on ancient trade routes. Could the site have served as both a practical tool and a sacred space? Was there a dual purpose to its construction, both functional and spiritual? Despite the many theories, there is one central question that continues to haunt Zorats Karer. What exactly was it built for? Was it purely an astronomical observatory, a place to track the stars and the sun? Was it a site of deep religious significance, where people came to connect with the divine or the celestial realm? Or was it something entirely different, a symbol of an ancient society's relationship with the earth and the cosmos, a way of anchoring the rhythms of life to the heavens? As we stand among the stones of Zorats Karer today, the questions remain as unanswered as the day they were first asked. The stone circles stand resolutely against the Armenian sky, their purpose hidden in time, their meaning lost to the ages. Yet, as the wind rustles through the hills, it's impossible not to feel that something profound still lingers here, something that speaks to the ancient past, to the knowledge and beliefs of a people whose legacy is still waiting to be fully understood. Perhaps in time, we will uncover more about this ancient site and the people who built it, but for now, the mystery of Zorats Karer endures, waiting for us to look closer, to ask more questions, and to wonder what secrets might still be buried beneath the stones. As we leave the enigmatic stones of Zorats Karer behind, we now find ourselves traveling across the vast and lush landscapes of South America to a site that holds within its silent statues and mysterious earthworks a story of forgotten peoples and unspoken rituals. The San Agustín Archaeological Park, nestled in the highlands of Colombia. Surrounded by mist-covered mountains and dense forests, San Agustín is home to a collection of ancient sculptures, tombs, and ceremonial sites that continue to puzzle archaeologists and historians alike. The park's eerie and tranquil atmosphere, combined with the weight of its mysteries, makes it one of the most fascinating and least understood archaeological sites in the world. San Agustín is famous for its megalithic statues, most of which are carved from volcanic rock. These statues depict a wide array of figures, humanoid faces, animal forms, and mythical creatures, each intricately designed and exuding a sense of purpose. The site itself is thought to have been constructed by an ancient civilization that flourished in the region between 1000 BC and 800 AD. But while the craftsmanship of the statues and their striking presence suggest a society with advanced artistic and cultural traditions, the true meaning and purpose of the site remain elusive. Who were the creators of San Agustín, and what drove them to create such an imposing and mysterious place? The most well-known features of the site are the statue groups scattered across the park. These groups include enormous stone heads, some weighing several tons, along with smaller figures arranged around them. The statues appear to face specific directions, but their alignment and the rationale behind their placement remain open to interpretation. Many of the figures display highly stylized faces, often exaggerated with large eyes, prominent cheekbones, and imposing expressions that suggest a deep connection to the supernatural or the divine. Could these statues represent deities, ancestors, or powerful figures worshipped by the ancient inhabitants of the region? Or do they symbolize something deeper, perhaps forces of nature or spirits tied to the land? Some of the figures resemble zoomorphic beings, blending human and animal features in ways that challenge our understanding of ancient iconography. The presence of these animal motifs has led some to suggest that the people of San Agustín may have had a complex spiritual relationship with the natural world, one that tied the divine to the forces of nature. Were these figures meant to serve as representations of gods that governed the natural world, or were they ancestors who were believed to have animalistic powers? The fact that many of the statues are aligned with natural features such as mountains, rivers, and the stars hints at a belief system in which the cosmos and the earth were seen as interconnected. Could the statues have been positioned to mark important celestial events, as with other megalithic structures around the world? And what role did these figures play in the daily lives of those who created them? The tombs at San Agustín add another layer of mystery to the site. The park contains several large burial mounds, known as tumuli, some of which house intricate burial chambers. In one of the most notable tombs, known as the Fuente de Lavapatas, a series of carved stones depict figures in scenes of ritual, possibly linked to ancestor worship or ceremonial practices. These tombs are thought to have been the resting places of important figures, perhaps rulers or high priests, who played central roles in the society. But what do these tombs reveal about the beliefs of the ancient people who constructed them? The arrangement of the tombs suggests that the deceased were laid to rest in a manner that honored their status and role in society. The presence of intricate carvings on the stones around the tombs hints at the ritualistic significance of death and possibly the belief in an afterlife. The elaborate graves may indicate that the people of San Agustín saw death not as an end, but as a continuation of a spiritual journey, one that was marked by monumental ceremonies and the marking of the deceased with symbolic statues and offerings. Did the people of San Agustín believe that the dead continued to influence the living and that their spirits were invoked during rituals conducted at these sacred sites? The connection between the statues, tombs, and surrounding landscape suggests a belief system in which the natural and spiritual worlds were deeply intertwined. Despite the extensive work done by archaeologists at San Agustín, much about the site remains a mystery. One of the most intriguing questions is the origin of the builders. The civilization that created San Agustín seems to have been a relatively isolated group, with no evidence of direct contact with other advanced civilizations of the time, such as the Inca or Maya. How, then, did they acquire the knowledge and skill necessary to create such a sophisticated site? Some have suggested that the builders of San Agustín were part of a broader, now forgotten tradition of megalithic culture, one that spanned the Andes and the Amazon. Could the people of San Agustín have been part of a larger network of ancient civilizations, one whose influence has been lost over time? Or did they develop these traditions independently, without outside influence? Adding to the mystery is the unusual construction of the statues themselves. The volcanic rock used to carve the figures is not naturally abundant in the area, leading some to wonder how the builders transported these heavy stones to the site. The statues are intricately carved with impressive detail, suggesting that the people who created them possessed advanced stone carving techniques and tools. But how did they achieve such precision with such rudimentary tools? Could they have had access to methods of construction and carving that have been lost to history? The sheer scale and complexity of the site point to a level of organization and engineering that would have required a highly skilled workforce, raising the question of how such a society was structured. The ritualistic aspects of San Agustín are also the subject of much speculation. It is clear from the positioning of the statues, the carvings around the tombs, and the presence of ceremonial objects that the site had great spiritual significance. Some researchers have proposed that the statues were part of a ritualistic calendar, marking important events in the agricultural or celestial cycles. Others suggest that the statues and tombs were tied to ancestor worship, with the figures serving as guardians or intermediaries between the living and the dead. Was San Agustín a place where the ancient people came together to perform ceremonies to honor their ancestors, or to call upon divine forces to ensure a bountiful harvest? Could it have also been a place of pilgrimage, where people from surrounding areas traveled to pay homage to the gods, or perhaps even to seek guidance in times of crisis? What remains most compelling about San Agustín, however, is its deeply enigmatic nature. Despite all the studies, the many theories, and the centuries of exploration, we still know so little about the people who created it. Their reasons for building such a monumental site, their spiritual beliefs, and their understanding of the natural world all remain shrouded in mystery. San Agustín, with its towering statues and silent tombs, invites us to reflect on the vastness of human history and the many stories that remain untold. As we walk among the statues and tombs of San Agustín today, we can't help but wonder, what was the true purpose of this sacred space? What rituals and beliefs shaped its creation, and what did the creators hope to achieve through the construction of such an imposing site? Was it purely a place of worship, or was it something more, an intersection of time, nature, and the divine? The mystery of San Agustín endures, and as we uncover more about this ancient site, we are left to ask, what other secrets does it still hold, waiting to be revealed by those who dare to look deeper into the past? After uncovering the strange and haunting mysteries of San Agustín, we now journey to the Mediterranean, where the island of Cyprus holds an ancient secret of its own. Here, amidst the sun-drenched hills and ancient olive groves, lies Khirokitia, a prehistoric village that continues to mystify those who venture into its heart. Unlike the towering stone figures of South America or the enigmatic tombs of Orkney, Khirokitia offers us a glimpse into the daily lives of a people who lived millennia ago, but whose identity and purpose remain obscured by time. Khirokitia is one of the best preserved examples of an early Neolithic settlement, dating back to around 7000 BC, making it over 9,000 years old. Nestled at the foot of the Troodos Mountains, the village was built on the banks of a now dry riverbed, and its circular stone houses are arranged in neat concentric patterns, suggesting an organized, planned society. Unlike the rectangular dwellings we are familiar with in other parts of the ancient world, the structures at Khirokitia were designed with rounded walls and flat roofs, built with thick stone and mud. These homes, still visible today in varying stages of preservation, were once the dwelling places of a community whose way of life remains as elusive as the stories etched into the stones around them. The layout of Khirokitia is a striking feature of the site. The houses are arranged in a way that hints at a larger communal structure, with wide streets running between them and a strong sense of order, something that was rare in early settlements. The careful arrangement of the village speaks to a highly organized society, one that possessed the knowledge to plan and build with precision. But what did these people believe, and why did they choose this particular location to settle? Could the village have been part of a larger network of Neolithic communities, or was it a self-contained society with unique customs and traditions? As we explore the ruins, what stands out are the circular structures of stone and the sheer size of some of the buildings. While most of the houses are relatively modest, one large structure, identified as a communal building, or possibly a ritual center, towers over the others. This building is significantly larger and more elaborate than the others, and its purpose has been the subject of much debate. Was it a center for communal activities, perhaps where people gathered for trade or social events? Or was it something more? A place where spiritual rituals were performed, a sacred site that connected the people of Khirokitia to the divine. The very presence of such a structure within a small settlement suggests that religion or spirituality may have played a major role in the lives of its inhabitants. The objects found in the ruins of Khirokitia also contribute to its mystery. Archaeologists have unearthed a variety of tools, pottery, and small figurines, some of which appear to have symbolic meaning. One of the most striking discoveries is the presence of female figurines, often made from clay or stone, which appear to represent fertility symbols. These figures, sometimes adorned with exaggerated features such as enlarged breasts or hips, suggest that the people of Khirokitia placed great importance on fertility, both in terms of agriculture and in their spiritual beliefs. Were these figurines used in rituals to ensure the fertility of crops or the people themselves? Or did they have another, more profound significance, perhaps representing deities or ancestral figures? Yet, it is the mystery of the village's abrupt abandonment that remains the most compelling aspect of Khirokitia. The settlement was occupied for several hundred years, and then, around 3000 BC, it was suddenly abandoned. No clear explanation has been found for why this thriving community, with its elaborate architecture and ritualistic practices, was deserted. Was the village destroyed by natural forces, such as a sudden flood, earthquake, or drought? Or was it a victim of human conflict, perhaps the result of raids or war? Could the abandonment of Khirokitia have been part of a larger, regional collapse, or was it a more localized event? Adding to the enigma is the fact that the people of Khirokitia left behind no written records, and few clues exist to explain their decision to abandon the village. The surrounding environment, once rich with resources, was not immediately inhospitable, so why leave? The very structure of the village, so meticulously designed and crafted, suggests that its inhabitants had a deep connection to their environment. The decision to leave this carefully constructed settlement and the disappearance of its people raises questions about their beliefs, their fears, and what might have motivated such a drastic change. Some have speculated that the sudden abandonment of Khirokitia may be linked to climatic changes. As the Neolithic period came to a close, the climate of the region may have begun to shift, affecting the availability of water and fertile land. Could the people of Khirokitia have abandoned their village in search of more hospitable areas? Alternatively, there are theories that suggest social or religious upheaval, possibly even a shift in leadership or a change in spiritual practices, could have led to the abandonment of the site. Some suggest that a cultural transformation, or the arrival of new peoples with different ways of life, may have forced the inhabitants of Khirokitia to leave. However, no evidence has been found to support any of these theories definitively. Another intriguing possibility is that the abandonment was tied to some form of spiritual or ritualistic significance. The presence of large symbolic figurines and the emphasis on fertility in the artifacts suggest that the people of Khirokitia may have believed that their survival and prosperity depended on certain spiritual or supernatural forces. Was there an event, perhaps a bad harvest or a disastrous omen, that led the people to believe they could no longer live in the village? Did they leave as part of a spiritual cleansing, moving to another place in search of new blessings from the gods? The mystery of Khirokitia continues to captivate archaeologists and historians because it raises more questions than it answers. The settlement, its architecture, and its artifacts point to a people with a rich spiritual and social life, but the sudden disappearance of its inhabitants leaves us with an unsettling sense of incompleteness. What caused them to leave their homes, their sacred sites, and their way of life? Was it a shift in the environment, in society, or in belief that forced them to abandon everything they had built? As we walk among the ruins of Khirokitia today, the silence is profound, and the sense of mystery lingers in the air. The circular walls, the barren communal building, and the weathered figurines still whisper of a past that we can never fully understand. The secrets of Khirokitia remain locked in time, leaving us to wonder whether the answers will ever be revealed. And perhaps, in the end, the greatest mystery is not why the village was abandoned, but what it can teach us about the forces, both visible and invisible, that shape the course of history. What was it that the people of Khirokitia believed, and what were they searching for when they left their village behind? The answers are hidden somewhere in the ruins, waiting for those who dare to uncover them. After venturing into the ancient stone circles of Khirokitia, We now move northward, deeper into Europe, to a site that speaks to both the mysteries of ancient rituals and the advanced astronomical knowledge of prehistoric peoples. In the quiet, serene landscapes of Germany, near the small village of Pömmelte, lies a monument that has left archaeologists and historians alike pondering its purpose for decades. The Pömmelte Ring Sanctuary, often referred to as the German Stonehenge, offers us a fascinating glimpse into a world long past, one where the cycles of the earth, the movements of the stars, and the rhythms of life were intricately intertwined. The Pömmelte Ring Sanctuary is a Neolithic ceremonial site located in the heart of the German countryside, surrounded by vast stretches of farmland and rolling hills. Its discovery in the early 1990s was both an archaeological breakthrough and a mystery that would remain unsolved for years. The sanctuary is made up of a series of concentric wooden and stone circles, with large upright posts forming the core of the structure. These circles, many of which were arranged with incredible precision, have sparked comparisons to other ancient monuments such as Stonehenge in England, though Pömmelte predates it by over 1,000 years. The site, which dates to around 2300 BC, is thought to have been used for rituals, possibly centered around the changing seasons or celestial events. What is particularly intriguing about Pömmelte is its complex design and alignment. The ring structures are laid out in such a way that they appear to be carefully aligned with the solstices, as well as with certain key stars in the sky. The main axis of the sanctuary aligns with the sunrise on the winter solstice, suggesting that it may have been used to mark the passage of time or to signal significant seasonal changes. This would have been of critical importance to the people of the Neolithic era, whose lives were deeply intertwined with the cycles of nature and the need to track the sun and stars for agricultural purposes. What makes Pömmelte even more remarkable is the fact that it is not a simple stone circle like those found at Stonehenge. The site is made up of multiple rings, each one carefully designed and placed to create a sense of symmetry and balance. The outermost ring consists of large standing stones, while the inner circles are composed of smaller posts, creating a visually striking structure. In the center of the rings, archaeologists have uncovered the remains of what appears to be a large sacrificial altar, further suggesting that Pömmelte was used for religious or ceremonial purposes. The scale of the structure, along with its intricate design, points to a highly organized society, one that possessed sophisticated knowledge of both architecture and astronomy. Despite the impressive design and layout of the sanctuary, much about Pömmelte remains unclear. The lack of written records from this time period means that we must rely on physical evidence to piece together its purpose, and even then, the theories are speculative. One of the primary questions surrounding the site is its ritual significance. Was Pömmelte primarily a place of worship, where people gathered to honor the gods or the forces of nature? Or was it something more, a site where the ancient inhabitants of the region sought to understand the cosmos and their place within it? Could it have been a calendar system, a way for the people to track the passage of time, the changing of the seasons, and the movements of the stars? The presence of sacrificial evidence at the site suggests that Pömmelte may have been a place where people performed important rituals. Archaeologists have found the remains of animals, as well as tools that may have been used in these ceremonies. The alignment of the rings with celestial events, such as the solstices and certain constellations, hints that these rituals were closely tied to the cycles of the earth and the heavens. The people of Pömmelte may have believed that by aligning their rituals with the natural world, they could influence the forces that governed life, death, and the harvest. There is also evidence to suggest that the site may have been a pilgrimage destination for people from far and wide. Given its scale and the elaborate nature of its design, it is possible that Pömmelte was not simply a local religious center, but a focal point for larger regional or even interregional ceremonies. Could it have drawn people from other parts of Europe, similar to how Stonehenge became a site of pilgrimage in later times? The vastness of the structure and its intricate alignment with celestial bodies suggest that it was a place of great importance, one that may have transcended the local and become a symbol of unity and belief for a much larger community. However, despite these compelling ideas, there are alternative theories that challenge the conventional understanding of Pömmelte. Some researchers suggest that the site was not primarily a place of ritual or worship, but rather a ritual calendar, a large outdoor timekeeping system that enabled the Neolithic people to track the cycles of the sun, moon, and stars. According to this theory, Pömmelte may have been used as a way to predict celestial events and align them with the agricultural calendar, allowing the people to anticipate the best times for planting and harvesting crops. Was Pömmelte, then, an early astronomical observatory, a precursor to more advanced systems that would emerge thousands of years later? Another theory posits that Pömmelte was a site of heavenly worship, but not in the way we usually think of religious rituals. Instead of focusing on gods or spirits, the people of Pömmelte may have been attempting to commune with the cosmos itself. The precise alignment of the stones with celestial bodies suggests that the site was used to track the movements of the heavens in a way that was more focused on the natural cycles of the universe, rather than on the supernatural. Could the builders of Pömmelte have been attempting to tap into the rhythm of the universe, seeking to understand the deeper connection between the heavens and the earth? There is even a more fringe theory, which suggests that Pömmelte may have been a site of ancient knowledge, a center of learning where astronomers, priests, and philosophers gathered to exchange ideas about the universe and the laws of nature. According to this theory, the people of Pömmelte possessed a knowledge of the stars and the heavens that was far more advanced than we typically associate with prehistoric societies. Could they have been privy to knowledge that has been lost to history, knowledge that was encoded in the very alignment of the rings? As we walk through the ruins of Pömmelte today, it's impossible not to be struck by the site's complexity and mystery. The stone rings, worn down by time but still standing in silent reverence to the past, offer us a glimpse into the world of the Neolithic people who built them. We can only imagine what they saw when they gazed upon the stars, how they interpreted the movements of the sun and the moon, and how they structured their lives around these cosmic forces. The exact purpose of Pömmelte may remain unsolved, but the mysteries it presents continue to inspire awe and curiosity. What knowledge did the builders of Pömmelte possess that has been lost to time? Was the sanctuary a place of religious worship, astronomical study, or something entirely different? As we contemplate these questions, we are left with the humbling realization that the answers may lie just beyond our grasp, waiting to be uncovered by those with the patience and the insight to seek them. The story of Pömmelte remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the Neolithic world, a puzzle that continues to beckon us into the past, urging us to look deeper, to question further, and to wonder what might still be hidden within the stones. After our journey through the enigmatic stone circles of Pömmelte, we now turn our attention to one of the most mysterious and awe-inspiring megalithic sites in Europe, the Carnac Quadrilateral in Brittany, France. Known for its alignment of thousands of stones scattered across the landscape, this site has captivated researchers and visitors for centuries. But there is one particular aspect of Carnac that continues to stir curiosity, a formation that, though somewhat overshadowed by its more famous rows, offers us a deep and perplexing mystery to explore: the Carnac Quadrilateral. Unlike the more familiar, straight lines of stones that stretch across the French countryside at Carnac, the Carnac Quadrilateral is a geometric arrangement of massive stones forming a shape that appears to deliberately defy the orderly alignment of its counterparts. The quadrilateral itself is made up of large standing stones that define an enclosed rectangular area. Its size and precise angles suggest a deliberate attempt to create a structure that is not only functional but symbolic. The sheer number and placement of these stones hint at a knowledge of geometry and spatial organization far beyond what one might expect from a culture traditionally considered primitive. The location of the Carnac Quadrilateral is remarkable. It sits in a region already rich with prehistoric history. Surrounding it are the more famous alignments of Carnac, where thousands of stones stretch across the land in long rows. These rows, which have long been the subject of debate, may have served as markers for celestial events or ritualistic pathways. However, the Carnac Quadrilateral, with its unmistakable shape, stands apart from the rest. Not quite a part of the rows, yet undeniably connected to the greater mystery of the entire site. It suggests that the builders of these stones were not merely placing them haphazardly, but were instead engaged in something that required an understanding of purpose, design, and possibly the heavens themselves. Many of the theories surrounding the Carnac stones have focused on their astronomical significance, especially in relation to the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. Given the alignment of the larger stones at Carnac with the solstices, one cannot help but wonder whether the quadrilateral might also have a similar function. Was it part of an ancient calendar system? Or perhaps a place to track celestial events? Did its rectangular shape symbolize something more profound, perhaps representing the boundaries between the earth and the sky, or between the living and the divine? As we look at the precise placement of each stone in the quadrilateral, we can't help but wonder, what were the people of this time trying to capture in their geometric design? Was the shape of the quadrilateral meant to represent something far beyond what we can perceive today? One of the most perplexing aspects of the Carnac Quadrilateral is the lack of clear records about its purpose. Unlike other megalithic sites where the role of the stones is somewhat clearer, whether for ceremonial, astronomical, or funerary purposes, the quadrilateral at Carnac leaves us with far more questions than answers. There is no known documentation from the time of its construction, and the people who created it left behind no written explanation. This has led to a variety of speculative theories about its function. One popular theory posits that the quadrilateral might have been part of an ancient ritual site. It is not unusual for early cultures to build spaces that symbolically represent the division between the sacred and the mundane, and the precise angles of the quadrilateral may reflect such a ritualistic division. The enclosed space could have been a site for offerings, religious ceremonies, or communal gatherings. Its isolation from the larger alignment could suggest that it served a different, perhaps more intimate purpose, a place where only the initiated would enter, where celestial events were observed, or where sacrifices may have been made. Other researchers, however, have proposed that the quadrilateral's layout may have been designed for more practical reasons, such as marking territories or guiding specific activities within the broader ceremonial complex. The number of stones and their precise arrangement could have acted as markers for specific events in the agricultural or solar calendar. Could this site have been used to track the phases of the moon, or even to observe the stars and the passage of time in ways that were critical to an early agricultural society? As we examine the stones' positions with relation to each other, it becomes clear that the design of the quadrilateral is far from random. Its edges are sharp, and its corners are exact, suggesting that the builders understood the importance of measurements and angles, a level of craftsmanship that seems ahead of its time. Some of the most speculative theories surrounding the quadrilateral draw on the idea that the stones may have had a sacred or mystical significance. Could the arrangement be a ritualistic portal, a way for the people of Carnac to connect with the supernatural? The shape of the quadrilateral, with its enclosed space, could represent a boundary between two worlds, the material and the spiritual, the earthly and the divine. In many ancient cultures, geometry was not just a tool for measuring, but a means of invoking power, through sacred numbers, shapes, and proportions. Could the builders of the quadrilateral have used geometry as a key to understanding the universe, drawing on the belief that certain forms or arrangements could tap into deeper forces? The material of the stones themselves is another point of intrigue. Like many of the standing stones in Carnac, the stones of the Quadrilateral are made from local granite, and their size and shape suggest that they were carefully selected and transported to the site. How did the builders, with no advanced tools or machines, move and shape such massive stones? Some suggest that they may have used rudimentary sledges or rollers, while others posit that they could have had access to unknown technologies. The transportation and alignment of the stones raise questions about the level of social organization and technical knowledge required for such a project. Were the people who created these stones part of a larger, advanced civilization, or were they independent creators with their own unique knowledge of construction? But the mystery deepens further when we consider the sheer purpose behind the Quadrilateral's location and design. Could the Quadrilateral be more than just a static structure, and might it have had a dynamic role in a larger, unfolding cultural landscape? Its precise location among the rows of stones and its connection to the other features of the Carnac site suggest that it may have been part of a broader, interconnected network of sites that served both symbolic and practical functions. How might this Quadrilateral have interacted with the changing landscape over time, especially as the people who built it gradually disappeared from the historical record? The continued mystery of the Carnac Quadrilateral is a testament to the ingenuity and complexity of prehistoric societies. As we walk among the weathered stones, we can't help but wonder what drove these ancient peoples to create such a precise and carefully constructed monument. The geometric design and its possible celestial alignments hint at a profound understanding of the cosmos, but the lack of written records leaves us in the dark as to their exact purpose. As we look toward the horizon, where the stones stand silent against the sky, we are left with questions that remain unanswered. Was the Carnac Quadrilateral a place of ritual, an astronomical observatory, or a boundary between the worlds of the living and the divine? The stones, though weathered by time, continue to speak to us across the centuries, their silence urging us to look deeper, question further, and wonder what still remains hidden within the stones. As we move deeper into the shadows of history, where the past lingers like an unsolved riddle, we now turn our attention to the ancient site of Los Millares, hidden away in the rugged hills of southern Spain. Here, in the dry landscape of the Andalusian plains, lies a settlement that once flourished over 4,000 years ago, leaving behind a complex network of fortifications, tombs, and structures that continue to challenge our understanding of prehistoric European societies. The site of Los Millares, with its fortified walls and intricate burial practices, speaks to a people whose way of life was both sophisticated and enigmatic. Los Millares is situated in the Almeria region, a stark and arid part of Spain, where the land stretches out in vast undulating hills, dry riverbeds, and scrubby vegetation. The settlement itself, once a thriving hub of activity, is now a patchwork of ruins, partially buried by centuries of natural erosion, but still preserving clues to a past long forgotten. The walls that once encircled the village are impressive, stretching over 1,000 meters, and are made of stone and mud brick, their remnants still standing as silent sentinels against the passage of time. The sheer scale of the fortifications at Los Millares is remarkable, especially when one considers that this was a Bronze Age settlement, existing at a time when such complex architecture was not widespread across Europe. What makes Los Millares particularly compelling is not just its size or its impressive defensive walls, but the fact that it was home to a highly organized society, one that had mastered not only the art of construction, but also complex systems of agriculture, trade, and social structure. The settlement was fortified, indicating that its people were well aware of the potential dangers posed by neighboring tribes or forces. But who were these people, and why did they invest so much in creating such a fortified stronghold? The layout of Los Millares offers further mysteries. The village was divided into distinct areas, with some sections clearly designated for living, others for storage, and still others for ritualistic purposes. The homes, made of mud, brick, and stone, were arranged in tight clusters, suggesting a close-knit community, but also one that might have been on guard against potential attack. Evidence of circular houses, a hallmark of Bronze Age settlements, can still be seen, with their stone foundations clearly marking where the walls once stood. These homes were not the simple dwellings of a small, isolated group. Rather, they were built for a community that was well integrated, with shared spaces for work, trade, and socialization. However, it is the tombs of Los Millares that perhaps offer the most striking insight into this society's spiritual beliefs and practices. Within the settlement and its surrounding areas, archaeologists have uncovered a series of burial sites, some of which are organized into large collective graves. These tombs were used not only for the burial of individuals, but also for the interment of entire families or groups, suggesting that the people of Los Millares had a highly ritualized approach to death and the afterlife. What is most intriguing about these tombs is the complexity of the burial practices. Many of the tombs are equipped with stone markers, and some contain ritual objects, such as pottery and jewelry, indicating that the deceased were honored with offerings meant to ensure a safe journey to the next world. The presence of weapons, tools, and ornaments in the tombs raises a significant question. Were the people of Los Millares viewing death as a continuation of life, where the deceased would need their possessions in the afterlife? Or were these items part of a ritual designed to honor the deceased's status within society, a sign that they were important individuals, perhaps leaders, warriors, or religious figures? The wealth and variety of artifacts suggest that Los Millares was not only a place of daily life and survival, but also a place where spirituality and social hierarchy played key roles in shaping the culture. Yet, despite these insights, there are many aspects of Los Millares that remain shrouded in mystery. For one, we know very little about the identity of the people who built this complex settlement. The archaeological evidence points to a Bronze Age society, but there is still no definitive answer to the question of who they were or where they came from. Were they the direct ancestors of the later Iberian civilizations, or did they belong to a different group entirely, possibly one that disappeared or integrated into other cultures over time? There is some evidence to suggest that the people of Los Millares may have had connections to other Mediterranean societies, but this is far from conclusive. It's far from. Another unresolved mystery surrounds the purpose of the fortifications. While it is clear that the walls were designed for defense, who or what were they defending against? Archaeologists have long speculated that Los Millares was a strategically important site, one that controlled important trade routes or resources. But the reasons for the apparent need for such heavy fortifications remain unclear. Was the community in constant danger from rival tribes? Or were the walls meant to protect against a different type of threat, perhaps social upheaval or spiritual forces? The degree of preparation and complexity seen in the walls and the defenses points to a culture that understood the fragility of peace and the constant potential for conflict. The fact that so much effort went into fortifying the settlement suggests that the people of Los Millares might have been dealing with tensions from external forces or internal strife, yet there is no direct evidence to explain this. In addition to the fortifications and the tombs, there are also some unexplained structures found within the settlement that could provide further insight into its purpose. These include large stone platforms, ritual spaces, and other ceremonial objects that suggest a society deeply attuned to spiritual or cosmological concerns. Were these spaces used for rituals? Were they intended to mark the changing seasons, track the movements of the stars, or honor some higher power? These questions remain unanswered, and as yet, no conclusive evidence has been found to support any particular theory. Perhaps one of the most haunting mysteries surrounding Los Millares is its sudden decline. After flourishing for several centuries, the settlement appears to have been abandoned around 1500 BC, leaving behind only the remnants of its once thriving society. What caused the people of Los Millares to leave? Was it a natural disaster, such as a drought or earthquake? Or was it the result of social collapse, external invasion, or internal conflict? The fact that the settlement was abandoned so suddenly and with no clear explanation only adds to its mystique. As we stand among the ruins of Los Millares today, we are reminded of the fragility of ancient societies, of how civilizations rise and fall, often without leaving behind the answers to their greatest questions. The walls of Los Millares stand as silent witnesses to a people whose lives and beliefs we can only imagine. The tombs, the artifacts, the homes, and the fortifications all speak to a culture rich in complexity, but their true meaning remains elusive. The mystery of Los Millares endures, leaving us to wonder, what drove this people to build such an extraordinary settlement, and what caused them to vanish so suddenly from history? What knowledge, beliefs, and rituals did they leave behind, and how did they see their place in the world? As we continue to search for answers, the ruins of Los Millares stand as a powerful reminder that there is much still to discover in the shadows of the past. After exploring the enduring enigma of Los Millares, we now journey to the tranquil landscape of western France, where the Tumulus of Bougon stands, quietly revealing its secrets beneath the earth. A place that has captivated archaeologists for centuries, the Tumulus of Bougon is a series of ancient burial mounds, or barrows, that date back over 6,000 years. Located near the town of Bougon in the Poitou-Charentes region, this site offers a glimpse into the spiritual and social practices of a people who, though long vanished from history, left behind a legacy that continues to spark intrigue. The Tumulus of Bougon is comprised of 5 large burial mounds, each one rising from the earth like silent sentinels, marking the passage of time and the eternal resting places of those who once inhabited this part of Europe. These mounds are an incredible feat of engineering, each constructed from massive stones and earth, their contents preserved for millennia. The sheer size and complexity of the tumuli suggest that they were not just burial sites, but monumental expressions of belief and social hierarchy, signaling the importance of the individuals interred within. The mounds themselves are clustered in a specific arrangement, aligned to the cardinal directions in ways that suggest a deep understanding of both the physical world and the cosmos. The site, though visually imposing, holds a quiet, almost solemn aura. As you approach the mounds, the stones seem to hum with a history that stretches back far beyond the written word, their weathered surfaces telling stories of rituals, death, and the passage of life. What stands out immediately about the Tumulus of Bougon is the careful construction of the burial chambers inside the mounds. Unlike the simpler graves of the period, these tombs are elaborate, built with a precision that suggests a high degree of social organization and cultural significance. Some of the tumuli contain multiple burial chambers, leading archaeologists to speculate that these were family tombs or sites reserved for individuals of high social rank. The layout of the chambers, often accessed via narrow passageways or stone corridors, indicates a highly structured approach to death and the afterlife. The grave goods found within these mounds provide another intriguing clue. Artifacts such as pottery, tools, and jewelry have been uncovered, suggesting that the people of Bougon believed in an afterlife, one where the deceased would need these possessions for the journey beyond. This practice of offering items to the dead is not unique to Bougon, but is found in many ancient cultures, raising questions about the universal human desire to honor the deceased and ensure their passage to the next world. But what exactly did these items mean to the people of Bougon? Was the afterlife seen as a continuation of earthly life? Or was it something entirely different? Among the most puzzling aspects of the Tumulus of Bougon are the burial practices themselves. Some of the tumuli appear to have been used repeatedly over time, with bodies placed in layers within the chambers, while others suggest that the deceased were carefully prepared for burial, their bodies arranged in specific positions. Was this indicative of a belief in the reincarnation of souls or a way of ensuring the dead's proper place in the afterlife? The ritual significance of the placement and arrangement of the bodies remains a subject of ongoing debate. What did these elaborate burial rituals reveal about the spiritual beliefs of the people who constructed these mounds? As intriguing as these discoveries are, the true purpose of the Tumulus of Bougon is far from clear. While the site undoubtedly served as a cemetery, it also seems to have held a ritualistic or ceremonial role, a place where the living and the dead were connected in a spiritual dance that transcended mere survival. Was Bougon a place where people came to commune with the dead, perhaps offering sacrifices or performing ceremonies designed to ensure the prosperity of the living? Or did it function as a site of spiritual transformation, where the boundaries between the realms of the living and the dead were fluid, and the forces of nature and the cosmos were invoked? Adding another layer of complexity to the mystery of Bougon is the mysterious origins of its builders. The Tumulus of Bougon dates back to the Neolithic period, a time when human societies were transitioning from a nomadic existence to more settled ways of life. But who were these people? The Celtic tribes that would later dominate the region had not yet arrived. So what culture built these tombs, and for what purpose? Some archaeologists believe that the people who constructed Bougon were part of the larger Atlantic culture, a widespread prehistoric culture that spanned from northern Spain to the British Isles. But beyond these vague connections, little is known about the specific group that built the Tumulus of Bougon. One of the more speculative theories about Bougon's origins suggests that the site may have had an astronomical function, aligned with the solstices or other significant celestial events. The arrangement of the mounds and their alignment with the cardinal directions might indicate a deep understanding of the heavens, similar to other ancient cultures that built monumental structures for the purpose of tracking the stars and the sun. Could the Tumulus of Bougon have been more than just a place of burial? Could it have been a site of astronomical observation, a place where the movements of celestial bodies were tracked and aligned with the cycles of life and death? This theory suggests that the people of Bougon saw their world as intricately tied to the heavens, and that their burial practices were a way of ensuring their place in the cosmos. What also remains puzzling is the disappearance of the people who built Bougon. The site was used for several centuries before it was abandoned around 1800 BCE, with no clear explanation for its decline. Was it the result of a change in social or religious practices, or was there an external force, such as conflict or environmental changes, that caused the people of Bougon to leave? The fact that the site was gradually abandoned without any known records leaves us with a sense of eerie finality. Had the people of Bougon achieved what they set out to accomplish with the construction of these tombs, or had they failed in their spiritual pursuits? The discovery of the Tumulus of Bougon is a reminder of how little we truly understand about the people who came before us. Despite the vast array of artifacts uncovered and the careful study of the site, much about Bougon remains a mystery. The tombs, the artifacts, and the rituals speak to a complex society whose beliefs about death and the afterlife were both sophisticated and deeply spiritual. Yet, as we examine the site today, we are left with the haunting question: what drove these people to construct such monumental burial sites, and what did they truly believe about the life that followed death? As the mounds sit quietly beneath the open sky, the answers to these questions remain buried, leaving us with only fragments of a once great civilization. The mystery of the Tumulus of Bougon is far from solved, and perhaps, in the silence of these ancient stones, it is the unknown that speaks the loudest. What secrets lie hidden beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered? As our journey through time brings us further into the mysterious and ancient corners of the world, we now find ourselves in the serene and somewhat eerie landscape of Gloucestershire, England, where an ancient monument lies buried beneath the earth, waiting to reveal its secrets. The site we are about to explore is the Uley Long Barrow, a burial mound shrouded in mystery, its origins stretching back over 5,000 years to the Neolithic period. This site, though less well known than some of its more famous counterparts like Stonehenge, offers an intriguing glimpse into the rituals and beliefs of early British societies. Rituals tied to death, the afterlife, and perhaps the very fabric of the cosmos itself. The Uley Long Barrow is located in a secluded area of the Cotswold Hills, a region known for its dramatic natural beauty and its deep historical roots. The barrow, a long burial mound, was built with great care and effort, using large stone slabs and earth to create a structure that would endure through the centuries. From a distance, the barrow's outline is barely visible, blending seamlessly with the landscape. But as you approach the site, the earth gives way to the skeletal remains of the past, stones, large and small, that hint at the complexity and significance of the monument. What makes Uley Long Barrow so fascinating is not just its physical presence, but the mystery surrounding its function and the people who constructed it. It was built during the Neolithic period, a time when human societies were transitioning from hunter-gatherer lifestyles to more settled agricultural communities. The Long Barrow was used as a burial site for multiple generations, suggesting that it served not just as a final resting place, but as a symbolic gateway between the living and the dead. The mound is aligned to the natural features of the land and possibly to the movements of the sun and moon, which raises an immediate question. Was Uley Long Barrow intended as a place of astronomical observation? Did its builders use the site to track the cosmos, aligning their lives and deaths with the rhythms of the heavens? The burial chamber itself is a complex structure with multiple chambers or cists constructed inside the mound. These chambers were made from large, carefully placed stone slabs and were used to house the remains of the dead. Some of the remains discovered within the tombs are those of individuals who were cremated, while others show signs of having been buried intact, with grave goods placed alongside them. The items found within the barrow, such as pottery, tools, and ornaments, suggest that the people of Uley Long Barrow believed in an afterlife, one where the dead needed sustenance, tools, and perhaps even symbolic protection. The arrangement of the tombs within the barrow is also significant. Unlike other burial sites of the time, the chambers within Uley Long Barrow appear to have been arranged in an order, with different sections designated for different individuals or families. This organized layout suggests a social hierarchy, with certain individuals possibly receiving more elaborate burials than others. What is particularly intriguing is the discovery of animal remains within the burial chambers, evidence that animals, such as cattle, may have been used in burial rituals. Was this a form of sacrifice or offering to accompany the dead on their journey into the afterlife? Or was it part of a broader ritualistic practice, meant to ensure the fertility of the land or the protection of the community? As archaeologists continue to uncover new layers of the Uley Long Barrow, the site reveals itself to be more than just a burial ground. It seems to be a place where the living sought to commune with the dead, using the stones and the layout of the barrow as a symbolic bridge between these two worlds. The Neolithic people who built the barrow likely believed in an intricate relationship between death, the afterlife, and the natural world. The arrangement of the chambers, the alignment with celestial events, and the artifacts found within the tombs all point to a highly ritualized society, one that placed great importance on ensuring the safe passage of the dead and maintaining harmony with the natural forces that governed their lives. But while much has been discovered about the burial practices at Uley Long Barrow, many questions remain unanswered. What exactly did the builders of the barrow believe about the afterlife? Was there a deeper connection between the way the chambers were constructed and the spiritual beliefs of the people who created them? The ritual significance of the Uley Long Barrow is not fully understood, and some archaeologists have suggested that it may have served not just as a tomb, but also as a sacred space, perhaps a place of worship or a site where the living and the dead could interact in meaningful ways. Was it a temple or a gathering place for ceremonies linked to the cycles of life and death? Could the barrow have served as a place where astronomical events were marked, linking the physical world with the metaphysical? One of the most intriguing aspects of Uley Long Barrow is the alignment of the tombs. Some researchers believe that the structure of the barrow was deliberately arranged to align with significant astronomical events, such as the solstices. This would suggest that the people who built the barrow had a sophisticated understanding of the heavens, and that they saw their lives as deeply connected to the cycles of the sun and moon. The possibility that the site was not only a burial ground, but also an astronomical observatory raises fascinating questions. Was Uley Long Barrow part of a larger network of sites that were used to track celestial bodies, perhaps as part of an early calendar system? Did the builders of Uley Long Barrow see the heavens as a domain that influenced life on Earth? And did they align their rituals and burials with the cosmic order? Some scholars have even suggested that the Uley Long Barrow could have been part of a larger ceremonial landscape, one that was designed to mark key moments in the annual cycle of life, death, and rebirth. If this is true, the site may have served not just as a place for individual burials, but as a community focal point, a place where people gathered to honor their ancestors, celebrate the cycles of nature, and mark important milestones in their lives. Could the builders of the barrow have seen their society as part of a greater cosmic order, where the events of the earth were mirrored by the events in the heavens? Despite the remarkable discoveries made at Uley Long Barrow, much about the site remains shrouded in mystery. The exact cultural and spiritual beliefs of the people who constructed it continue to elude us, and the question of why this particular site was chosen for such an elaborate burial practice remains unresolved. Was Uley Long Barrow a sacred site because of its location, or was it the people themselves who imbued the land with significance? What did the alignment of the chambers, the artifacts, and the ritual offerings reveal about the worldview of those who lived and died there? As we stand among the stones of Uley Long Barrow, we are reminded that some mysteries remain unsolved, perhaps intentionally so. The tombs and the artifacts speak to a culture that understood the power of symbolism, ritual, and the natural world in ways we can only begin to comprehend. But as much as we know, there is still so much that eludes us. How much of the story of Uley Long Barrow will ever be uncovered? What knowledge of the cosmos, the afterlife, and the human condition did these people hold, and how much of it remains buried in the earth, waiting to be rediscovered? These questions linger, offering us a glimpse into a past that still holds its secrets, even as the stones of Uley Long Barrow continue to stand in silent testimony to those who walked the earth long before us. As we leave the solitude of the Uley Long Barrow, we turn our gaze toward another enigmatic stone circle, this time nestled within the picturesque landscape of the Lake District in Cumbria, England. Here, on the sweeping plains, surrounded by the dramatic rise of hills, we find the Castlerigg Stone Circle, a place that, much like its more famous counterparts, continues to puzzle archaeologists and historians alike. But it is not only the circle itself that invites intrigue. Scattered around the edges of this ancient site are the Castlerigg Peripheral Stones, a set of smaller stones that seem to hold the key to mysteries far greater than just their physical presence. The site of Castlerigg, with its 33 standing stones, forms an impressive circle, the heart of which is aligned with the surrounding landscape, toward the peaks of Helvellyn and Skiddaw, towering above in the distance. The location itself is striking, perched atop a ridge that offers panoramic views of the surrounding valleys and mountains. The landscape is serene yet imposing, the wind carrying whispers of the past as it sweeps across the stones. From a distance, Castlerigg may seem like an ordinary Neolithic monument, an arrangement of weathered stones that have stood the test of time. Yet, as we get closer, we begin to notice something more curious. Among the towering stones of the circle are several smaller peripheral stones, grouped in a way that suggests they are not merely scattered debris, but carefully placed markers that serve a purpose beyond the obvious. At first glance, the peripheral stones appear unremarkable, small and less imposing than the main circle. Yet their placement is anything but random. They form an outer boundary around the main ring, stretching outwards in a way that suggests a deliberate attempt to enhance or emphasize the stone circle's central structure. Some of these stones lie in alignment with distant features in the landscape, their positions seemingly crafted to mirror certain celestial or geographical features. This raises an immediate question. What role did these stones play in the greater context of the site? Were they markers of some ritualistic or spiritual significance? Or did they have a more practical purpose, perhaps linked to the movement of the stars or the changing seasons? Despite their relatively modest size, the peripheral stones seem to echo the same mystical qualities of the circle itself. Like the larger stones, they are believed to date back to around 3000 BC, a time when Neolithic people were beginning to shape their world not only through agriculture, but also through deeply ingrained beliefs about the cosmos and the forces that governed it. Castlerigg, like other megalithic sites, was likely a ceremonial center, a place where the community gathered for rituals linked to death, fertility, and the cycles of nature. The peripheral stones, far from being secondary or incidental, may have been an integral part of this spiritual framework. But what exactly were they marking? Some theories suggest that the peripheral stones served as astronomical markers, aligned with the solstices or equinoxes. The sunrise and sunset would have been key moments of ritual importance, possibly related to solar worship or agricultural cycles. Did these stones frame the changing light of the sun, guiding the ceremonial acts performed at the circle's center? Their strategic placement could very well have been used to help track the movements of the sun and moon, tools for ancient timekeeping, or a guide to ritual observance. Others have suggested that the peripheral stones may have had more symbolic functions. Were they representations of the boundary between the physical and spiritual realms, demarcating a sacred space from the world beyond? It's possible that the larger circle represented the world of the living, while the smaller stones formed a kind of protective barrier or threshold into the realm of the dead, the gods, or the other world. In ancient traditions, stones often held a significant spiritual weight, thought to be imbued with power that could influence human life and the forces of nature. The careful arrangement of the peripheral stones suggests they were more than just functional. They were deliberate markers of sacred space. Intriguingly, some archaeologists have drawn parallels between Castlerigg and other ancient stone sites across Europe, noting a shared understanding of how landscape and astronomy intersected with spirituality. Sites like Stonehenge in southern England and Avebury share similar patterns of stone arrangements that extend far beyond simple burial sites or ritual gatherings. Could the peripheral stones of Castlerigg have been part of a broader network of megalithic sites that formed a larger ceremonial landscape? A landscape that helped connect the people of the Neolithic to the sky above and the earth below? The alignment of the stones, both large and small, has long intrigued researchers. Some believe that the layout of Castlerigg was designed to mimic the heavens themselves, with the main circle representing the cosmic order and the peripheral stones functioning as guides or markers in this celestial framework. If true, This would suggest a complex understanding of astronomy and the cycles of the Earth by the people who constructed the site. Were the peripheral stones aligned to the star constellations or specific celestial events? Did the builders of Castlerigg, like other ancient cultures, believe that the heavens held the answers to life's greatest mysteries? The mystery deepens when we consider the people who built the stone circle. Who were they, and what drove them to create such an elaborate and mysterious site? The Neolithic societies of Britain were not isolated. They were part of a broader European network of ancient cultures. They had access to a variety of tools, but also the knowledge passed down from previous generations. It is likely that these people were familiar with the ritual significance of the stones, using them as a means to connect with the natural world and its forces, to predict the seasons, and to commune with the spirits of their ancestors. Yet, the peripheral stones seem to possess a certain elusive quality that sets them apart from other stone monuments. What was the relationship between the circle and these smaller stones? Why were the peripheral stones placed on the outskirts of the site rather than directly incorporated into the central circle? Did they represent a layered symbolism, or was their placement part of a deliberate, complex design to guide specific spiritual or seasonal rituals? Despite the extensive study of Castlerigg, we still do not have definitive answers. The function of the peripheral stones, while speculated upon for centuries, remains unresolved. Were they markers of a celestial pathway, leading the way for those who used the site for rituals? Or were they perhaps symbols of an ancient cosmological belief, an expression of the relationship between the earth and the heavens? One thing is clear. The mystery of Castlerigg, and in particular, the peripheral stones, endures. They stand as silent witnesses to a bygone people whose understanding of the world was as profound as it was enigmatic. These stones have survived centuries of weathering, erosion, and change, their meaning shifting with each new generation that stumbles upon them. Perhaps, as we stand among them today, we are reminded of just how much we have yet to understand about the ancient world. The mystery of Castlerigg remains unresolved, but it is that very mystery that keeps us coming back, questioning, exploring, and wondering what more might be hidden beneath the surface of this ancient landscape. What knowledge, beliefs, or rituals have been lost to time, and what might still be waiting to be uncovered. The stones remain, but the answers may still be far beyond our reach. As we journey deeper into the enigmatic landscapes of the Mediterranean, we now find ourselves on the rugged island of Corsica, an area steeped in natural beauty and historical mystery. Amidst the island's towering peaks, dense forests, and craggy coastlines, there lies a collection of ancient structures that have puzzled archaeologists and historians for centuries. These are the Torrean Megaliths of Corsica, a group of stone towers and fortifications scattered across the island, remnants of a civilization whose identity and purpose remain shrouded in mystery. The Torrean culture, which flourished between the 9th and 3rd centuries BC, built these megalithic towers known as the Tori, large circular stone structures that seem to rise out of the landscape like ancient sentinels, guarding secrets long forgotten. The Tori are typically made of rough, unhewn stone, stacked with surprising precision to create structures that are as mysterious as they are imposing. Some are standing tall and proud on the peaks of hills, while others lie in more secluded locations, hidden among forests and cliffs. Each tower seems to possess its own character, some crumbling with age, while others remain surprisingly well preserved. As you approach the Torrean megaliths, the first thing you notice is their raw, imposing presence. These towers, constructed without mortar, rely solely on the careful placement of large stones, each one seeming to fit into its designated spot with remarkable accuracy. The towers stand as silent markers of an ancient culture whose beliefs and rituals remain elusive. but what were they for? What did the people of Corsica believe as they raised these monumental structures into the sky? The first and most apparent theory is that these towers were fortifications, defensive structures designed to protect their inhabitants from external threats. Indeed, many of the towers are strategically placed on elevated ground, offering a commanding view of the surrounding area. From these heights, the people of the island would have had a clear line of sight to approaching threats, whether from other tribes or from invaders. The defensive positioning of the Tori suggests a society that was constantly on guard, perhaps living in a state of heightened vulnerability. But if the towers were purely functional fortifications, why would they be so intricately constructed and placed in such seemingly symbolic locations? Why would they be so numerous across an island that, at the time, was not particularly large or densely populated? As we dig deeper into the mystery of the Torrean megaliths, we begin to consider the possibility that these structures held a ritualistic or ceremonial purpose. Could the towers have served as a form of ritual observance, or as a way to connect the people to the natural and spiritual world around them? In some ways, the positioning of the Tori mirrors that of other megalithic structures found across Europe. Many of these ancient sites, from Stonehenge to the Carnac stones, are thought to have been constructed with alignment to celestial bodies, marking the solstices or other significant events in the agricultural or spiritual calendar. Could the Torrean towers have had similar astronomical significance, marking the movements of the sun, moon, or stars? This idea is not entirely far-fetched. Some of the Torrean megaliths are located on the highest points of the island, offering a vantage point not just for defense, but for observing the skies above. Could the people who built these towers have seen them as a way to bridge the gap between earth and sky, aligning their structures with celestial bodies to invoke the power of the heavens? These towering stone structures could have served as physical representations of the cosmic axis, much like the Great Pyramids of Egypt or the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, structures designed to connect the human world with the divine. In fact, the symbolism of the towers is one of the more intriguing aspects of the Torrean culture. Some of the towers are arranged in groups or circles, suggesting that their placement was deliberate and that they may have been part of a larger, ritualistic landscape. Their sacred geometry could have played a central role in the religious practices of the Torrean people. Perhaps these were not simply defensive structures, but sacred sites, used to perform ceremonies related to the cycles of nature or the veneration of spirits and ancestors. As the landscape of Corsica is so varied, the local mythology and spiritual beliefs may have also influenced the design of the towers. Corsica's rugged terrain, with its steep cliffs, deep valleys, and dense forests, evokes a sense of isolation and mysticism. It is easy to imagine a people who lived closely with the natural world, drawing power from the land, the mountains, and the sea. The positioning of the towers, on mountain peaks or near water sources, suggests a relationship with the environment that was as much spiritual as it was practical. Did the Torrean people see their towers as sacred places where they could connect with the forces of nature in an effort to ensure prosperity or protect against natural disasters? Yet, there are aspects of the Torrean megaliths that challenge the notion of them being simple ritual structures. Unlike other megalithic sites, the Tori do not appear to have been used for large communal gatherings or ceremonial processions. Instead, they were more likely used by smaller groups or individuals. The small size of some of the tower's interior chambers suggests that they were meant for a limited number of people, possibly for individual rites or private worship. Could these towers have been places of personal reflection or communion with the divine, rather than sites for large-scale public rituals? Adding to the mystery is the fact that the Torrean culture is not well understood. Little is known about the people who built these towers, their social structures, or their everyday lives. Archaeological evidence suggests that the Torrean people lived in a hunter-gatherer society at first, gradually transitioning to agriculture. Yet there is no evidence of significant urbanization, and it remains unclear why such elaborate structures were constructed in the absence of large cities or centralized power. Did these towers symbolize the social hierarchy of a small but deeply religious society, or were they something else entirely? Were they expressions of individual power or spiritual authority, built to mark the land as sacred? Some have even speculated that the Torrean towers might represent a lost culture, one that predates the more well-known civilizations of the Mediterranean. Could the Torrean people have been the survivors of an even older, forgotten civilization, one that left behind these monumental structures as evidence of their existence? Did they possess knowledge and beliefs that were ahead of their time, the full extent of which we may never fully understand? As we ponder these questions, we are left with the unsettling realization that the mystery of the Torrean megaliths may never be fully solved. Their purpose, whether defensive, ritualistic, or something else entirely, remains an open question, just as the identity of their creators remains lost to time. Yet, the stones themselves stand, unyielding to the passage of millennia. They remain, like so many other ancient monuments, silent witnesses to a past that continues to elude us, standing tall in the rugged landscape, calling us to look closer, to search for answers, and to wonder what secrets still lie buried beneath the earth of Corsica. As we continue our journey through the ancient and the unexplained, we find ourselves on the island of Malta, where, hidden in plain sight, stands a solitary stone, a relic from a past steeped in mystery. Known as the Tal-Qadi Stone, this enigmatic monument is perched in the countryside of Gozo, a smaller, quieter island off the coast of Malta. While it might not possess the grandeur of Stonehenge or the sweeping scale of the Egyptian pyramids, the Tal-Qadi Stone holds within it an aura of intrigue and mystery that has captivated those who come across it. The Tal-Qadi Stone is a standing stone, one of many megalithic monuments found across the Maltese islands, yet it stands apart due to the unusual carvings that adorn its surface. At first glance, it may appear to be just another ancient stone marker, silent, weather-worn, and forgotten by time. However, a closer examination reveals that it is far from ordinary. Carved into the stone are geometric patterns, spiral motifs, and what appear to be symbols or markings that suggest a deeper meaning. These intricate carvings have led researchers to suggest that the Tal-Qadi Stone may have served a ritualistic or ceremonial purpose, possibly even acting as a marker for something far beyond the reach of our understanding. The stone itself stands about 2 meters tall, its surface weathered and rough, as though it has borne witness to millennia of winds, rains, and the passage of time. But the most striking feature of the stone is the pattern etched into its surface, a design so precise and deliberate that it begs the question, who or what was behind it? The carvings are not random. They seem purposeful, suggesting a culture with advanced knowledge of geometry, astronomy, or perhaps even spiritual symbolism. As we stare at the stone, we are left to ponder. Were these marks the product of ancient people's quest to connect with the cosmos, to mark the passage of time, or perhaps to communicate with the divine? While the exact purpose of the Tal-Qadi Stone remains unclear, scholars agree that it was likely part of a much larger ceremonial landscape. Malta, and particularly Gozo, is home to many other megalithic sites such as the Hagar and Menajra temples, both of which are thought to have been used for religious or astronomical purposes. These sites, with their carefully aligned structures, suggest that the ancient people of Malta had a deep understanding of celestial bodies and the cycles of the natural world. Could the Tal-Qadi Stone have been part of this same network of sacred spaces? Was it aligned with the movement of the sun or stars, perhaps marking a specific time of the year or a cosmic event? The mystery of the Tal-Qadi Stone deepens when we consider its location. Unlike many other megalithic monuments that are situated on high ground or prominent locations, The Tal-Qadi Stone is found in a more modest setting, a rural area near a valley and surrounded by farmland. Could this location have been chosen for its connection to the landscape or the forces of nature? Some researchers have speculated that the placement of the stone was designed to mark a boundary, either between different territories or between the earthly realm and the spiritual world. Could the stone have been a sacred marker, delineating a space where the living could interact with the divine or the ancestors? Or was it a symbol of something larger, an embodiment of the cosmic axis, connecting the earth and sky? The carvings on the Tal-Qadi stone also suggest a possible connection to the spiral motifs found at other ancient sites across Europe, such as in the Celtic and Neolithic cultures. Spirals have long been associated with themes of eternity, cycles of life, and transformation. Were the people who carved these spirals attempting to communicate their understanding of the universe's cyclical nature? Or perhaps they were using the stone to mark important seasonal transitions. The solstices, equinoxes, and other celestial events that governed agricultural cycles were likely of great significance to ancient peoples, especially those living in agricultural societies. Could the Tal-Qadi stone have been part of a calendar system, marking the passage of time in alignment with the heavens? There are also those who argue that the stone's carvings represent something more abstract, potentially a form of writing or symbolism used for ritualistic purposes. Given the lack of written records from the time of the Tal-Qadi stone's construction, the carvings may have been a way to encode a spiritual or cosmological understanding that the ancient people wished to pass down. These markings may have been understood by the people of Malta as a form of sacred language, one that communicated divine truths or encoded knowledge of the cosmos. If this theory holds any weight, it suggests that the people who created the stone were not only deeply connected to their environment, but also had a sophisticated understanding of how symbols could convey meaning and power. Despite these theories, the full meaning of the Tal-Qadi stone remains elusive. The lack of substantial evidence linking the stone to any known civilization or religious practice from that era adds to its air of mystery. Was it created by the ancient Maltese people, or could it have been left by an unknown, long-lost culture? The stone's isolation and simple yet profound design suggest that its creators were deeply in tune with the land and the cosmos, but the exact nature of their beliefs remains speculative. In the absence of definitive answers, some have turned to fringe theories, suggesting that the Tal-Qadi stone might be more than just a terrestrial marker. Could it be a remnant of an ancient alien culture, left behind as a message to future civilizations? While these ideas are far from mainstream, they do speak to the sense of awe and wonder that this stone evokes. The patterns and shapes on its surface are unlike those commonly seen in other stone monuments from the same period, leading some to wonder if the stone could hold knowledge or symbolism that is not yet understood by modern researchers. As we contemplate the stone, it becomes clear that its mystery is not merely the product of time and erosion. It is a link to an ancient worldview, one that used stones, symbols, and the landscape to communicate deeper truths about life, death, and the cosmos. The carvings on the Tal-Qadi stone are an invitation to explore a past that we may never fully understand, but one that still has much to teach us about the ways in which ancient people interacted with their world and with each other. What secrets does the Tal-Qadi stone still hold? What was it meant to convey to those who created it, and to those who now stand before it, thousands of years later? As we peer at the stone's weathered surface, we are reminded that some mysteries remain unsolved, their meanings hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment or the right mind to unlock them. The Tal-Qadi stone continues to stand as a testament to a long-lost civilization, one that may have understood more about the forces of the universe than we can yet grasp. Perhaps in time its mystery will be unraveled, but for now, we are left to wonder what it truly means and what it still holds beneath its ancient surface. As we delve deeper into the enigma of the Tal-Qadi Stone, one cannot help but wonder about the broader context in which this monument exists. Malta's megalithic culture is an intricate tapestry of interconnected sites, and each piece offers us a glimpse into the worldview of its creators. From the Hagar temples to the Menajdra complex, these structures are aligned with celestial events, suggesting a society with a profound understanding of the heavens. Could the Tal-Qadi Stone have been a small yet crucial part of a vast, interconnected network of sacred sites designed to track the stars, mark significant dates, or channel the forces of nature? Intriguingly, some researchers believe that the stone could have been part of an ancient ritual landscape where celestial phenomena were intimately tied to human life. The precise alignment of other megalithic structures across Malta points to a people who meticulously mapped the heavens. Perhaps the Tal-Qadi Stone, with its detailed carvings, marked an astrological event, a solar or lunar eclipse, or a rare planetary alignment. The stone might have been a tool used by ancient astronomers, enabling them to make predictions and align their agricultural practices with the cosmos. It's also possible that the Tal-Qadi Stone served as a marker for the transitions of life, birth, and death. The spiral motifs etched into its surface could symbolize the cyclical nature of existence, a visual representation of the journey through the seasons, through time, and through the spiritual realms. In many ancient cultures, spirals were symbols of the continuous flow of life, of rebirth, and renewal. Perhaps the people who created the Tal-Qadi Stone were using these motifs to mark not just cosmic events, but also personal and collective milestones. Another fascinating aspect of the Tal-Qadi Stone is its relationship to the surrounding landscape. Positioned in the midst of the rural countryside, far from any grand city or temple, it seems to stand as a reminder that the sacred can be found in the simplest of places. The connection between the stone and the land is undeniable. It may have been an integral part of a natural sanctuary, where the forces of the earth and sky converged. This rural placement contrasts sharply with other megalithic monuments, which are often positioned on high hills or in more prominent locations, perhaps suggesting a different kind of spiritual significance, one rooted not in elevation or grandeur, but in the quiet, humble presence of nature itself. In considering the stone's purpose, we must also remember that its creators were not isolated from the broader Mediterranean world. Malta's strategic position in the center of the Mediterranean meant that the island was a crossroads for various cultures. Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Romans, and others all left their mark on the land. Could the Tal-Qadi Stone have been influenced by these diverse traditions, incorporating symbols or ideas from distant lands? The presence of spiral motifs, for example, is not unique to Malta, but appears in cultures as far-flung as the Celts, the Neolithic people of Europe, and even ancient Egypt. This raises the tantalizing possibility that the creators of the Tal-Qadi Stone were part of a larger cultural exchange, one that transcended geographic boundaries. Finally, as we reflect on the mystery of the Tal-Qadi Stone, we must acknowledge that its secrets may never be fully understood. The absence of written records from the time of its creation means that much of its significance is left to speculation. However, the enduring presence of the stone, standing resolute against the winds and the passage of centuries, serves as a powerful reminder of the deep connection that ancient peoples had with the land, the cosmos, and each other. It invites us to consider that, perhaps, the answers we seek are not found in scientific certainty, but in the mystery itself. In the quietude of the stone, we may find echoes of a lost world, a world where meaning was not derived from facts and figures, but from the resonance between the earthly and the divine.